Officers, welcome to chapters, and I hope that I am audible and visible to all of you. So once again, welcome to the chapters and another important daily current affairs series. So basically here in this series, guys, we are revising the important current affair articles of the previous month, right? And you know that in these current affair weekly revision sessions, we are covering the important articles for the month of March. We are already done with the first 3 weeks of the March, and now today we are going to cover the 26th to 31st of March 2026. That is your final week for the month of March 2026. If I am audible and visible to everyone, please give me a thumbs up in the chat box so that we can start with the today's session. So good afternoon, Harshal, Kashish, Kavya, Material Share, and all the people who have joined us live today in this session. Once again, welcome to all, and I believe that everybody of you have revised and solve the MCQs of the first 3 weeks of March 2026, and we are good to go with the fourth week of March 2026. So my dear friends, if we are audible and visible to all of you, please give me a thumbs up. So everything is good to go. So now my dear friends, I believe that everybody of you have revised the PDF that we have covered in the previous session, right? And you have also solved the MCQs on the same that we have already provided to you in the course. So let me tell you that today's session is going to be another important one for all of you, because today we are going to cover the fourth week of March 2026. So till now we have covered first to third week of March 2026. Additionally, we have covered full complete April 2026, and we have covered the first week रिवीजन ऑफ मे 2026. तो आपका मई वाला मंथ साथ साथ चल रहा है, एंड वी आर ऑल्सो कवरिंग द मंथ ऑफ मार्च एज वेल, एंड वी आर ऑलरेडी डन विद द मंथ ऑफ अप्रैल, राइट? So we are already done, and I can see in the chat box so many people are telling me that yes, we are done with the revision as well. I was also looking at the comment section that yes, people are doing the revision and solving the MCQs. That's really great part, my dear friends. Let's move on to the first part, that is the 26th to 31st of March 2026. So before moving ahead, I would like to tell you here that at chapters we divide the current affairs in the two important parts. First one is basically the phase 1 and 2, where we basically cover the important articles which are directly related to the syllabus of the examination. For example, it can be the scheme, report, ESI current affair, finance current affair, any program or the initiative. So all these things we are covering in the phase 1 and 2, including the RBI notifications. Moving ahead, we are having the phase 1 articles which are not at all related to the syllabus, and here we cover the sports, defense, awards, exercises, appointments, books and authors, and that's all. So my dear friends, we are going to cover in the similar manner also for this week as well. Till now we have covered everything in this manner only, and today also we are going to cover in this manner only, right? So today's session can be a little bit longer for all of you, because today we are going to cover this complete week, right? So that tomorrow you can have the full revision of the fourth week of March 2026, and you can also revise the complete month of March 2026 as well. So I can see here. So yes, Harshal, the most important reports, we will be adding some reports today as well, right? Don't worry about it. So yes, March, April and May, absolutely right. So let's start the session with the very first news article, that is the sexual harassment of women at workplace, prevention, prohibition and redressal act 2013. So sexual harassment of women at workplace, prevention, prohibition and redressal act 2013. So you all know that right now, earlier women were basically living at home, right, doing the household chores. But now in the 21st century, we have done the women empowerment, and now women are going out of the home and they are doing jobs. They are also taking care of the home, they are doing the jobs as well, they are managing their jobs very well, right? So let me tell you that wherever the women are going for the jobs, we have to ensure that the workplace, wherever they are going, the workplace should be safe. When it comes to the safe, it does not mean that the safety is only about, safe building. No, it should be safe in environment, it should be safe in dignity, it should be safe in respect, it should be safe in equality of the law. So we need to ensure the safety of women across all the parameters. And when it comes to the workplace can be anything. It can be the domestic worker as well. It can be a private organization, it can be a public organization, it can be a government office as well, a private office as well, a NGO, right, or a construction site. Wherever the women are going for a job, we have to ensure that we are providing them the safe workplace, and that is why Government of India come up with the Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act 2013, so that we can provide them safe space. So this was in 2013 launched to ensure a safe and secure working environment for women across all sectors. And this act upholds the fundamental rights under Article 14, 15 and 21 and the right to practice any profession. So basically, when we will be providing them the safe workplace, what will happen? They will be having the right to practice any profession, and they have the right to a safe workplace also, right? So this act covers all the women irrespective of the age or employment status, and applies to both public and private sectors, including the organized and the unorganized sectors and the domestic workers. So irrespective of whether it is a public office, it is a private office, it is a domestic worker, it is a construction site, or wherever, we have to ensure that the workplace where the women is working is safe. It adopts an inclusive and sector agnostic approach, extending the protection across the diverse work settings. Now, what is the workplace? It is defined to include government bodies, private organizations, NGOs, that I've already told you, my dear friends, right? So please tell me in the chat box, what is that act which has been launched by the Government of India to ensure a safe and secure working environment for the women across all sectors? What is the name of that act? It is Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act 2013. That's all. Clear, everyone? I hope that this news article is very much clear to all of you. Let's move on to the next news article. India's resilient production systems in the agriculture. So India has achieved a record food grain production at 357.7 MMT, with horticulture output at 362.08 MT, reflecting a strong shift towards high value crops. Let me tell you guys, let's take an example of a student. So earlier a student was only appearing in the examination so that he can pass the examination. He was never thinking of doing top in the exam, coming in the top 5 students. No, he was just thinking about passing the examination. But now the student has changed. Now the student is thinking about not just passing the examination, but also his excelling in the examination by getting the top rank. He is working on the extra co-curricular activities. He is working in the sports. He is ensuring the proper attendance. He is very disciplined in nature, right? He is securing the scholarships as well. So now the student is excelling in all the varied areas, right, my dear friends? Similar is the case of the Indian farmers. Earlier, these Indian farmers were only going for the food security, that we just want to ensure that India is having the proper food security. But now what they are basically focusing upon, now they are focusing on the high valued crops. Now they are focusing on exporting the crops from India to the world. So now it's not just about the food security. Now we are focusing on the income protection of the farmers, right? So now the farmers are also evolving with the time. And you can see here as a result that India has achieved a record food grain production at 357.73 MMT, where horticulture output was 362.08 MT, right? When it comes to India, it ranks among the top producers globally with 150.18 MT of rice, 117.94 MT of wheat, 25.68 MT of pulses. So the first question that arises and comes to our mind is that are we required to retain this data? Answer is no. Why? Only the first data you can retain, that is India's total food grain production 24-25 was 357.73 MMT. In the horticulture output, it was 362.08 MT. That's it. Why so? Because see guys, this data is quite volatile in nature. And if you are preparing for the NABARD examination, then again let me tell you that these sessions are going to be very helpful for you. But let me tell you here, this data again is not important for you, because by the time your NABARD examination will come, you will see that you will be having the new data. So right now just don't cover this data, just cover the overall numbers only, right? Now moving at the agricultural exports, as I already told you that now they are focusing on the exports. You can see now the agricultural exports have increased from USD 34.5 to USD 51.1, right? Billion US dollars, absolutely right. When it comes to the budget allocation to the agriculture, it has also increased from 21,933 crore to 1.3 lakh crore in 26-27. So what is the budget allocation for the agriculture sector in the 26-27? That is 1.3 lakh crores. Clear? And we have already covered this information of the PM Kisan scheme, that 4.27 lakh crore has been disbursed in the 22 installments. In the previous session only we covered the PM Kisan scheme. Can anybody tell me in which year the PM Kisan scheme was launched? It was launched in year 2019. Can anybody tell me that what is the financial allocation that we are providing under the PM Kisan scheme, the financial assistance to the farmers? That is rupees 6,000. And in how many installments we are providing this? In 3 installments of 2,000 rupees each. Absolutely right. ABC, Kashish, Harshal, Kavya, everybody is giving me the right answer to this question. Well done, my dear friends. So that's all from this news article. You can see the agriculture footprint. Right now, this data is not that much important from examination point of view. It is having the low relevancy, right? So when you're already done with all the data, after that you can just have a glance through this data, so that if any question comes, you are already aware of it. Okay. So India has achieved a record food grain production of 357.73 MT and the horticulture output was 362.08 MT. Clear? When it comes to the India's agricultural exports, it was 51.1 billion US dollars. That's all that we need to remember from examination point of view. Now moving ahead, growth in the health insurance sector. Now my dear friends, you all know that health insurance is really very important, right? You never know. For example, during the rainy days, for example, you are in Cherrapunji in India, right? Where it is raining almost every time and you never know that when the rain is going to start. But if you are having an umbrella with you, when you are having an umbrella with you, it is going to protect you, right? From being caught in the rain. So basically, my dear friends, this health insurance also acts as an umbrella in terms of these exigency situation. And it basically protects you from that sudden financial shock that a family can get due to that enhanced medical expenses during any kind of exigency situation. And that is why, my dear friends, you can see here that nowadays what is happening, in the health sector, the medical expenses are really increasing. You go to a private hospital and even you are just sneezing, they will be making a bill of rupees 10,000 from that, right? So this is the reality of the private hospitals for now. So that is why what is happening is the India's health insurance sector is also recording a growth, because nowadays the people are more protective in nature for their healthcare infrastructure. Otherwise what they have to do, they have to basically they have to do out of pocket expenditure. What is out of pocket expenditure? When the patient has to pay from his own pocket, right? So the India's healthcare insurance sector has recorded around 9% growth with a total premium exceeding 1.2 lakh crore in 24-25. In 2024-25, the total premium has exceeded rupees 1.2 lakh crores. India's health insurance sector has recorded the 9% growth, my dear friends. The growth is driven by increased awareness, better access to the healthcare financing, and rising demand for financial protection against the medical expenses. The Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India has prescribed timelines for processing the cashless health insurance claim. So guys, what happens is that when you are going in a medical emergency, right? So they will be asking you the amount, that okay, can you please submit this amount because we need to treat the patient. But you know that at that point of time the patient cannot wait, right? So if at that point of time they are basically, I am having an insurance claim, right? And the hospital asks the insurance panel, the insurance company, that whether we can start the treatment or not. And in the meantime, let's take an example that it is taking a lot of time from the insurance company to confirm, to make the confirmation of the treatment. So basically it will be too late for the patient, and that is why Government of India says, and the Insurance Regulatory Development Authority of India has prescribed the timelines for processing the cashless health insurance claims. Now there is cashless pre-authorization that must be completed within 1 hour, and then final authorization within 3 hours. Now what is the pre-authorization? So when a patient has been admitted in the hospital and the hospital is going to start or continue the treatment, at that point of time the patient cannot wait, right? So that is why we have to ensure that this pre-authorization has been completed within 1 hour. Now let's take an example that the patient's treatment is over. Now the hospital is planning to discharge the patient. At that point of time, during the final billing, we need a final authorization from the insurer, right? So this final authorization can be done within 3 hours, because in the discharge time, so patient is totally fine, right, my dear friends? So that is why, and it is really very helpful, my dear friends. Okay, the timelines aim to reduce the delays and ensure timely access to the medical care. And I would like to tell you here, guys, a very important part. See, apart from the preparation point of view, if you are someone who is not having any medical insurance policy, right, please ensure that you are having a policy. It is really going to be very, very useful for you, right? So I have seen the use case of that in the recent days only. That is why I am just telling you, please ensure that you are having a proper medical insurance policy, right? In the case of unfortunate situation, your sudden financial shocks can be taken care by that insurance claim. Clear? The increase in the health insurance premium is driven by factors such as aging policyholders, higher coverage, enhanced features, and among others. So nowadays what happens is that everybody wants a premium care, right? And even in the insurance schemes are also providing the premium luxury wards in the hospital. So that is why the health insurance sector is growing, and there is exceed in the total premium. What is the growth rate? 9% growth rate. And what is the total premium? That is basically 1.2 lakh crores in 24-25. Clear, everyone? Getting the point? Now please also remember the cashless pre-authorization, it should be completed within 1 hour, and final authorization must be completed within 3 hours. Clear, everyone? Now let's try to solve these questions. And let's move on to your Drishyam round PDF, and here let me switch on the annotations for all of you. Okay, so here's the annotation on. So please quickly try to give me the answers in the chat box. Sexual harassment of women at workplace, Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act 2013, right? It is the Act of 2013. The Act upholds the fundamental rights under Article 14, 15 and 21, and the right to practice any profession under Article 19. It covers all the women irrespective of the age or employment status, and applies to both which sectors? Private as well as the public sectors. So basically here it will be private as well as the public sector. Clear, everyone? Now moving ahead to the next news article, India's resilient production systems in the agriculture. So India has achieved a record food grain production of how many MMT? 357.7 MMT, right, with the horticulture output of 362 MT. That is the right answer. Now when it comes to the agricultural exports, it increased from 34.5 billion US dollars to 51.1 billion US dollars. That is the right answer. Clear, everyone? And what is the budget allocation? Budget allocation has been increased from 21,933 crore to 1.3 lakh crore. Clear? Are you guys getting the point? Able to answer all the questions in the chat box? Okay, that's really great. In the chat box, I can see that Kavya, Harshal, Srishti, Material Share, Kashish, Srishti, Kavya, everybody has given me the right answer. Well done, everyone. Let's move on to the next news article, the growth in the health insurance sector now. Please tell me what was the India's health insurance sector growth rate this year? It was 9%. It was 9%. It was 9%, right? The IRDAI has prescribed the timelines for processing the cashless health insurance claims. The cashless pre-authorization must be completed within how many hours? Within 1 hour. And the final authorization within 3 hours. तो फाइनल ऑथराइजेशन 3 आवर्स में होना चाहिए और आपका कैशलेस प्री ऑथराइजेशन 1 आवर में कंप्लीट हो जाना चाहिए. क्लियर एवरीवन? ओके, लेट्स मूव ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट न्यूज आर्टिकल नाउ. द लॉन्च ऑफ द गृह सुगम पोर्टल बाय नेशनल हाउसिंग बैंक. तो दोस्तों एक गृह सुगम पोर्टल को सेटअप किया गया है. इट हैज़ बीन सेटअप बाय नेशनल हाउसिंग बैंक. अब क्योंकि एनएचबी कर रहा है तो इट विल बी रिलेटेड टू द हाउसिंग ओनली, राइट? सो नाउ लेट मी टेल यू अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट. Let's take an example. You know the defense personnel, my dear friend, the defense personnel, the people who are working in the Indian Air Force, Army, Navy, CAPF. So they are always working in the remote locations. They are already having the high frequent postings, right? So when they want to make their own homes, they are not having that flexibility that they can move, that they can go to the bank branch and they can initiate the conversation regarding the home loan, that I want to take a home loan and I can submit these particular documents or not. So he is the person who is responsible for the nation's safety, right? He won't be having that much time that he will be going to these banks for having the home loans. So considering this, Government of India thought that why not we just provide them this facility at the convenience of their place where they are presently residing. So basically, to ensure this, the Government of India and with the National Housing Bank, they come up with the Gruh Sugam portal. Now what this Gruh Sugam portal will be doing? For example, you want to purchase anything, my dear friends, right? For example, you want to, let's take an example, I am having a pen in my hand, right? And you are having the examination, or let's take an example that you have become the RBI Grade B officer, right? And now you have to sign your offer letter with the RBI. So now you must be thinking that which pen I should buy for this special occasion. Now you will be going to the Amazon or the Flipkart, you will be, comparing the different pens all together. That okay, which pen is there? I will be taking the fountain, or I will be taking the Parker pen or any other XYZ pen, right? So similarly, as you are doing this for the pen, so why not the defense personnel will be doing it for his home loan, right? So right now, as you are going to the Amazon or the Flipkart, similarly the defense personnel will be going to the Gruh Sugam portal. In the Gruh Sugam portal, they will be having the access to the different home loans which are being provided by the different banks. So they can compare all their plans and they can choose one of them. They can initiate the conversation with the bank and they can submit the documents as well through the Sugam Gruh portal only. Getting something? Are you guys getting something? Right? So the National Housing Bank has launched the Gruh Sugam portal to streamline the home loan process for the defense, paramilitary and government personnels. The portal enables users to avail home loans digitally from their place of posting. तो जहाँ पर भी वो पोस्टेड हैं, अपने घर बैठे बैठे अपने टैबलेट, मोबाइल या लैपटॉप पर they can access this Gruh Sugam portal and they can compare the home loan plans and they can initiate the conversation, right? The initiative promotes digital lending adoption, financial inclusion and the affordable and sustainable housing finance. It provides the unified digital marketplace for the transparency and comparison of loan offers from the lending institutions. Clear everyone? And who will be the eligible users here? The eligible users will be defense personnel, paramilitary forces, central and the state government employees applying through their administrative units. Clear everyone? Getting the point? Now let's move on to the next news article. So this is clear to everyone. Let's move on to the next news article. That is the Human Development Index. My dear friends, let's take an example. Let's again go back to the school, right? So school days are best. That's why I always, come up with an example of the school. So let's take an example in the school. A teacher is assessing the students on the basis of his marks in the examination, right? Let's take an example, just marks in the mathematics. On the basis of the marks in the mathematics, we are basically identifying the student as intelligent or a weak in nature, right? But what about the other subjects? There might be a other subject also where he is really strong. For example, it can be the science, physics, chemistry, biology, English, computer knowledge, right? So basically we have to ensure that we are assessing the student across all the marks. So we cannot define the student's performance with the help of only one single subject. No, we have to ensure, we have to keep in the assessment all the subjects. Similarly, when it comes to the life of the people who are living in a particular country, only the income cannot tell that, okay, what kind of life the people are having. It should be their health also plays a very important role. Their education plays a very important role, right? And then their income is also very important role. So income is one of the subject which is required, where the person has to be really good. Right, my dear friends? Getting the point? So that is why we basically assess the development of the humans with the help of human development index, that what is the kind of life the people are living in that particular country. So the United Nations Development Program releases the Human Development Index annually at the national level, and it measures development based on the life expectancy at birth, years of schooling, and the gross national income per capita. Clear? So these are the three factors which are being used for assessing the development of the humans in the countries. When it comes to the performance, India's performance in the Human Development Index, India's score increased from 0.59 to 0.633 in 2015 and 0.685 in 2023. When it comes to India's rank, it was 130th out of 193 countries in the index. And this index was topped by Iceland. So we are talking about the Human Development Report of 2025, right? That time, what was India's position? 130th out of 193 countries. And what was the country which was on the top? That is the Iceland was on the top. Clear everyone? I can see in the chat box, Kashish, Harshal, Kavya, everybody is giving me the right answer. Well done, my dear friends. So that's all from this news article. Now let's try to answer this questions now which are before you. So the launch of Graha Sugam portal, it has been launched by which organization? National Housing Bank, right? So Graha Sugam portal has been launched by National Housing Bank to streamline the home loan process for defense, military and government personnels. Moving to the next news article, Human Development Index has been launched by which organization? United Nations Development Program. UNDP is the right answer. It measures the development based on the three parameters: life expectancy at birth, mean years of school education, and the gross national income per capita. That is the right answer. Moving at the Human Development Index report 2025, India's HDI has increased from 0.59 to 0.633 in 2015 and to that in 0.685 in 2023. Clear? What was India's rank in the Human Development Index report of the 2025? That was 130. And the report was topped by which country? It was Iceland. So Iceland topped this particular report. Clear everyone? I hope that this is clear to everybody. Now let's move on to the next news article, that is the One Station One Product initiative. One Station One Product initiative. Let me tell you, my dear friends, when you have you ever had a journey via the train, where you have a long journey via train, right? So when a train is going over a long journey, you see that it basically stops at so many stations. It stops at so many stations. Let's take an example that I was going from. In the childhood days, we used to travel from Haryana to Hyderabad, right? And so many stations used to come in between. And we basically used to cross so many states. But you know, during this long journey, we are not having that flexibility that we can stop at every station and we can go out and purchase the local artisan products and enjoy the local food items of that, right? So considering this, Government of India said that why not we are having the One Station One Product initiative, where basically what we will be doing is, for example, if we are stopping at the Lucknow, right? Lucknow is having a very rich cuisine. So basically that local product can be made available on the railway station of the Lucknow, and we can purchase that food item from Lucknow railway station. Similarly, there was a handicraft item which is famous of a X place, and the train stopped at X place for some time, right? So we can go out and in the station itself we are having that outlet from where we can purchase that handicraft product. Clear everyone? So this will be really helpful for me also, and for the local artisans also, for the local people also, because it will be impacting their income, because I will be purchasing their products. And what is the benefit for me? I don't need to go out in the deep in the city, and I will be just hovering from place one shop to the another in order to get that product. It is just available. The bestest of the product is just available at the outlet at the railway station. I can just purchase it from there. So that's how it is going to be that much beneficial. That is why we were having the One Station One Product initiative of the Indian Railways, which was introduced in the Union Budget 22-23 to promote indigenous products. It was launched on 25th of March 22 to create dedicated retail spaces at the railway stations for local artisans and self-help groups. So these local artisans and self-help groups, they can have their outlet, just like you can see in this particular picture, right? So we are having some local artisan products in this outlet. So this is the example of the one station, one product initiative. So the initiative provides market access, supports sustainable livelihoods. The railway divisions implement the scheme in coordination with the state agencies, self-help groups, micro, small and medium enterprises to ensure smooth operations and the wider inclusion. And that is why we have come up with this initiative of one station, one product initiative. It has been launched by Indian Railways. So my dear future officers, are you guys able to understand it from examination point of view? Are you guys getting it? So I'm giving you the practical examples so that you are not just mugging up these data. You are just understanding the utility of these steps taken by the government in the real life, and why exactly they are impacting the economy, why exactly we are focusing on them. It's not just from the examination point of view, it's also about the awareness that you must be having as a responsible citizen of the nation. Current affairs is not just about the examinations, it's about your personality development as well, that how exactly we are solving the problems of the different people with such initiatives which are being launched by the government. Clear everyone? Now let's move on to the next news article. Operationalization of the primary health centers and the CHCs under the IPHS norms. My dear friends, you all know that always we need to ensure that we are having a particular checklist. For example, I want to create a school, right? As let's take an example that chapter has got really successful, and me and Jalasra decided that okay, let's have our own one school, right? So when we will be setting up our own school, we will be getting so many checklists from the different authorities, that okay, first of all they will be asking us that okay, how many students will be there in the school. For such many students there must be X number of classes, there must be Y number of teachers, there must be Z number of toilets, there must be A number of libraries, there must be B number of different labs, for example physics lab, chemistry lab, biology lab, right? There must be a proper space for the students so that they can play as well. So basically we will be having a very long checklist, right? Similarly, when we are providing the healthcare facilities, right, through the primary healthcare centers, there must be a proper checklist that we must be following in order to ensure that all the facilities are being provided to the patients in a very best manner. For example, if we are creating that hospital, how many wards we should be having, right? How much population we are covering, what is the right infrastructure, the number of staff. So at all the levels we have to ensure that we are having all these checklists cleared, right? Then only we will be having the standardized approach to the provision of the healthcare services to the people. So that is why Ministry of Health and Family Welfare is implementing the Indian Public Health Standard. So we are launching a standard to ensure uniform and quality healthcare across the primary and secondary facilities. तो प्राइमरी और सेकेंडरी हेल्थ केयर फैसिलिटीज़ पर क्वालिटी हेल्थ केयर, यूनिफॉर्म हेल्थ केयर सर्विस प्रोवाइड की जा सके, इसीलिए गवर्नमेंट ने लॉन्च किया है इंडियन पब्लिक हेल्थ स्टैंडर्ड 2022. It provides standards for population coverage, infrastructure and the staff at all healthcare levels. Last updated in 2022. Last time IPHS को अपडेट किया गया था 2022 के अंदर. So दोस्तों अभी देखो हमारे पास एक चेकलिस्ट मिल गई. Now we are already having the checklist. But don't you think that there must be a monitoring tool as well, with the help of which we can see that okay, whether all these checklists are being followed properly or not. And for that only the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare also came up with the open source toolkit. And when we are able to understand that okay, these are the different hospitals which are not following these checklists, right? So which area they are not following, we will be able to understand that now through the dashboard, IPHS dashboard. We can monitor the compliance and we can help the states to identify the gaps and to fill those gaps. Now we are able to identify the gaps through the open source toolkit, right? Now we are fulfilling the gap. How? With the help of target based intervention. For example, there is a X healthcare center in our state and it is not having the proper number of beds in the hospital. So we will be supplying the beds. So we are filling that gap. Clear everyone? So that is the use case of the open source toolkit and the IPHS dashboard. As of 6 March 2026, 100% of the healthcare facilities have been assessed under the IPHS. तो जितनी भी हेल्थ केयर फैसिलिटीज़ है उनको असेस किया गया है अंडर द IPHS. 63% ऑफ द फैसिलिटीज स्कोर्ड मोर देन 50%. तो 100% को असेस किया गया और 63% ने 50% से ज़्यादा स्कोर, मतलब कि 50% से जो चेकलिस्ट है उसका 50% से ज़्यादा फॉलो किया जा रहा है. गेटिंग द पॉइंट? Now, as per the National Health Account, the out-of-pocket expenditure has declined from 62.6% to 39.4%, while government health expenditure has increased from 29% to the 48%. So, what exactly this shows? My dear friends, government health expenditure is increasing. That means government is investing more on the healthcare infrastructure of the people, on the healthcare facilities provided to the people. That is very, very good for the people, right? People of that nation. Now the next important thing is out-of-pocket expenditure is declining. That means the amount of money that the people are spending from their pockets, from their own pockets, to fulfilling those medical expenses. Now this is declining. That means we are having the better infrastructure now. We are having the good insurance, health coverage as well, right? That is why this out-of-pocket expenditure is decreasing. So this is something we are discussing here as a part of this article. Clear everyone? Getting it? So that means the health services in our country have improved now. Okay, my dear friends. So that's all from this news article. I believe that you guys are able to understand this news article. Now let's try to answer these questions. So the One State One Product initiative, it is an initiative of which organization? Please tell me in the chat box. The right answer is Indian Railways. It was launched in which year? It was launched in 2022 on 25th of March. Absolutely right. So Indian National is saying, sir, this full course is included in the website. Yes, on the website this complete course is available to you, Indian National. You can access these PDFs from the course itself. Okay. Now please come back to the session. Let's try to focus on the session. Okay. Now moving on to the next news article. Operationalization of the PHCs and CHCs under which norms? Under the IPHS norms. IPHS norms is the right answer. Indian Public Health Standard. So which ministry is implementing? So what is the name of that organization which is working for healthcare part in our own country? That is Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. Clear? As of 6th March 2026, what percentage of the healthcare facilities have been assessed under the IPHS? What is the right answer? The right answer is 100% of the healthcare facilities have been assessed, in which we have seen that 63% of the facilities have scored more than 50%. Clear everyone? And now we have seen, now you will be giving me the answer to this question, that the national health accounts, as per the national health account data, out-of-pocket expenditure has declined from 62.6% to what percent in 2021-22? For this question, you will be giving me the answer in the chat box. Clear everyone? So you will be giving me the answer to this particular answer. Clear? I hope this is clear to everybody. Absolutely right. I can see in the chat box everybody is giving me the right answer. That is 39.4%. Well done everyone. You guys are just rocking in the today's session. And the way you are giving me the right answer shows your dedication and hard work, that how you have basically, how you are able to retain all this information from examination point of view. Well done. Let's move on to the next news article now. We are done with the 7 articles. We are moving on to the 8th article. So we are focusing on India's exports and imports performances. So my dear friends, as we are focusing on the April to February 25-26 data, let me tell you that we have already covered the latest exports and imports data recently. So that's why this data is not relevant from examination point of view. We are only required to cover the latest data from examination point of view, right? So please ensure whenever you are preparing for the examination, only the latest data you are covering from exam point of view. Clear everyone? Let's move on to the next news article. That is the 14th World Trade Organization Ministerial Conference held in Yaoundé, Cameroon. So guys, you know about the WTO. WTO is the World Trade Organization. And you see that the ministerial conference of the WTO began in Yaoundé, Cameroon. So where exactly it began? It began in Yaoundé, Cameroon, right? So what is this ministerial conference? It is the highest decision-making body of the World Trade Organization. And this meets to basically discuss the different areas. Let me help you with the help of an example. Let's take an example again of a school. Every school class is having a monitor, right? And the monitor ensures that everybody in the class is following all the rules and regulations properly. If there is any dispute, then we will be resolving them by having the talks, right? We have to ensure that the class is properly disciplined, following all the rules that are meant to be followed. Clear, everyone? So my dear friends, I believe that this is very much clear to all of you. So the 14th Ministerial Conference of the World Trade Organization has begun in Yaoundé, Cameroon. Now let's try to understand that the World Trade Organization is the monitor when it comes to the trade rules of the class. Let's take an example that this whole class is the whole trade rule, right? It is the trade room, and all the members of the class are having the trade with each other. Now whenever there is a dispute, we need to go to the monitor, and that monitor here is the World Trade Organization. So World Trade Organization see that whatever the disputes are, we have to ensure that they are being resolved properly. We have to encourage the trade between the members. We have to reduce the trade barriers. We have to ensure that the good practices are being followed as a part of this. Clear, everyone? And that is why the 14th Ministerial Conference of the World Trade Organization began in Yaoundé, Cameroon, when we discussed all such kind of areas during this ministerial conference. Now this ministerial conference was chaired by Luc Magloire Barga Atangana, who is the Cameroon's Minister of Trade. तो कैमरून के मिनिस्टर ऑफ ट्रेड ने इस कॉन्फ्रेंस को चेयर किया. इट वॉज चेयर्ड बाय लुक मैग्लोयर बारगा अतंगना. क्लियर? दैट इज अ वेरी बिग नेम. सो जस्ट रिमेंबर माग अतंगना, राइट? माग अतंगना से याद रखिए इनका नाम. द ओपनिंग सेशन वॉज अटेंडेड बाय द WTO डायरेक्टर जनरल Ngozi Konjo-Iweala. Let me tell you guys that a few years back in the RBI Grade B Phase 2 examination, the name of the WTO Director General was being asked in the exam. So that is the reason that we have covered this information here. So the Ngozi Konjo-Iweala attended the opening session of the WTO Ministerial Conference, and the ministers from across the world attended the conference to discuss the challenges and opportunities facing the multilateral trading systems and to take action on the future work of the WTO. And India has also emphasized on the various areas. Let me tell you that from the examination point of view, it is not that important, right? But when it comes to India just said that okay, these reforms should be transparent. That we agree that the WTO really needs some good reforms, but they should be transparent in nature. They should be inclusive. They should be member driven. It should not be like that we are taking these rules and regulations, we are bringing these reforms by considering the situation only few countries. No, we have to consider about all of them. And you know what? In this classroom of the World Trade Organization, there is a very important rule. That is, all the members have to agree with those particular rules. Then only it will be passed. So that is why it is very difficult, and that's why we need that classroom monitor, right? So the World Trade Organization के static details को cover करते हैं दोस्तों, which is very important. The WTO was established in 1995 under the Marrakesh Agreement after the Uruguay round negotiations, and is headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland. So many times we see such kind of questions that when the origin of that big organization, international organization, is being asked in the examination, that how, under which agreement it was being launched. For example, few years back we saw that question for the IMF and the World Bank, right? So this year the question can be asked in the WTO because this 14th Ministerial Conference has taken place. So the WTO was established in which year? 1995. Under which agreement? Marrakesh Agreement in 1994. This agreement was signed and it is headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland. एक इंटरनेशनल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है जो ट्रेड लिबरलाइजेशन को प्रमोट करता है. सो अर्लियर इट वाज द जनरल एग्रीमेंट ऑन टैरिफ्स एंड ट्रेड. तो पहले GATT होता था, अब इसको रिप्लेस किया गया विद द वर्ल्ड ट्रेड ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. नाउ गाइस, ये डिफरेंस क्या है GATT और WTO में? सी, GATT वाज ओनली कंसिडरिंग द गुड्स. तो गुड्स और गुड्स की ट्रेड को कंसिडर करता था GATT, राइट? But when it comes to the World Trade Organization, WTO has taken over. It is basically focusing on the goods also, on the services also, on the intellectual property rights also. So on all these areas, the World Trade Organization is basically focusing upon. That's how it is different from the GATT. Unlike GATT, WTO covers trade in goods, services, and intellectual property such as designs and inventions. WTO has how many members? 166 members, which accounts for 98% of the world trade. And India कब से member है इसका? 1995 से, and was a part of the GATT since 1948. India was a part of GATT, that is the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, since 1948. Now in 1995, the WTO came into existence and India became the member of it in 1995 only. Right? The membership is based on negotiations ensuring a balance of rights and obligations among the members. And the Ministerial Conference is the highest decision-making body of the WTO. Why exactly this line is there? Because again in the previous years we have seen that the highest decision-making body related question was being asked in the examination. So that is why we have covered this news article considering all the questions that have been already asked in the examination previously. Clear everyone? So that is why we have to ensure that we are focusing on it in a very great manner. So I hope that this is very much clear to all of you. Please tell me the answers in the chat box now. The 14th WTO Ministerial Conference was held in Yaoundé, Cameroon by the WTO Ministerial Conference. It was chaired by Maga Atangana, right? The opening session was attended by WTO Director General, that is Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, and the key facts about the WTO states that it was established in 1995 under the Marrakesh Agreement, which was signed in 1994. It is headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland, and the remaining things we have already done. Now let's try to answer the questions from the Drishyam round. Let's try to answer the question from the Drishyam round. Okay. So first of all, the first question is that where exactly this conference was held? Ministerial conference. It was held in Yaoundé, Cameroon, right? The conference was chaired by Luc Maga Atangana, who is the Minister of Trade of which country? Cameroon. The WTO Director General attended the opening session. What is the name of the person? Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. That is the right answer. Now WTO was established in which year? In 1995 under the which agreement? Under the Marrakesh Agreement. It is headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland. The WTO succeeded the General Agreement on Tariff and Trade, right, which only regulated global trade since 1948, and it was only considering the goods and trades, that's it. But WTO considers all the trades in goods, services, intellectual property. Dash is the highest decision making body by the World Trade Organization. What is the name of that body, guys? That is, the name of the body is Ministerial Conference. That is the right answer. So my dear friends, I hope that this is clear to everyone, and now let's try to answer this question from the examination point of view, right? Everybody of you has given me the right answer to all these questions. I can see here Kavya, Material Share, Srishti, Kashish, Harshal, everybody, Shruti, Kavya, everybody has given the right answer. Well done, my dear friends. Now let's move on to the next news article. So government finalizes the borrowing plan for first half of the fiscal year 26-27. So before directly moving on to this article, let's first go to our households, right? Let's go to our home. Let's take an example, guys, that a particular financial year is starting, right? A particular financial year is basically starting, and I saw there that I need some amount of money that I need to borrow for taking all the expenses of my house, right? And I basically made the plan of first 6 months. I made the plan of the first 6 months that okay, in the first 6 months this will be my expenses, and that's how I am going to manage my expenses. I need to borrow some amount from the bank. I will be borrowing it from the bank. Clear everyone? Clear? Similarly, when the government is entering into a financial year, it is also required to analyze that what exactly its expenses will be, how much it will be having the expenditure, and how much it is going to manage its finances. And that's where the role of borrowing comes, because government also want to take so many steps for the welfare of the people. And you know, the government's revenue comes back in the form of receipts of the taxes, but it takes some time. That is why government needs some money which is available instantly, so that it can be used for the good purposes, it can be used for the welfare of the people, right? So the welfare initiatives cannot be stopped, right? So that is why Government of India, in consultation with the RBI, finalizes its borrowing program for the first half of the fiscal year 26-27. So 26-27 स्टार्ट हो रहा था दोस्तों, तो इन्होंने अपना पहले ही बोरोइंग प्लान रेडी रखा कि देखो इतना पैसा हम मार्केट से बोरो करेंगे. तो कितना पैसा बोरो करेंगे? So gross market borrowings for 26-27 has been reduced from 17.2 lakh crore to 16.09 lakh crore. So 16.09 lakh crore is that amount that government will be borrowing after government security switches. Now guys, you can see here that the out of 16.09 lakh crore, that is the total borrowing plan of the government for the first half, 8.2 lakh crore will be borrowed in the first half through the dated securities. तो 16.09 लाख करोड़ आपका पूरे साल का बोरोइंग प्लान है, ठीक है, जिसमें 8.2 लाख करोड़ तो गवर्नमेंट आपकी डेटेड सिक्योरिटी से बाय करेगी, बोरो करेगी. क्लियर? व्हाट आर द डेटेड सिक्योरिटीज? Dated securities are the government securities which are being issued to the people. The investors invest into this particular government securities and the government gets the money. And as a part of that, what governments do, government basically pays on some coupon amount, that is the interest rate on those dated securities, and after the maturity government basically again repurchases those securities from the person by giving the amount. Clear? So dated securities से हम 8.2 लाख करोड़ बोरो करेंगे, including 15,000 crore from the sovereign green bonds. So what are the sovereign green bonds? Sovereign green bonds are those bonds which are being issued for the sustainable projects of the government, right? For the green projects of the government, green and sustainable projects, right? For example, the renewable energy projects like solar panels are there, hydropower project is there, right? Borrowing will be conducted through 26 weekly auctions across the maturities of 3, 5, 7, 10, 15, 30, 40 50 years with the highest share in the 10-year securities. राइट, सबसे ज़्यादा शेयर होगा 10 ईयर सिक्योरिटीज में. लेट मी टेल यू दैट यहाँ पर आपको डिटेल्स में जाने की कोई रिक्वायरमेंट नहीं है. द गवर्नमेंट विल बी अंडरटेक स्विचिंग और बायबैक ऑफ द सिक्योरिटीज टू मैनेज द रिडेम्पशन प्रोफाइल एंड मे यूज ग्रीन शू ऑप्शन अप टू ₹2,000 crore per security. Let's take an example, my dear friends. What is this switching and buyback? Let's take an example that government wants to see that, okay, what is the redemption profile of the investors, right? How many people are redeeming these government securities? Let's take an example. In order to have the smooth flow of the money, so government says that, okay, we are buying back the already issued government securities. तो जो गवर्नमेंट सिक्योरिटीज़ पहले से इशू की गई थी, अब गवर्नमेंट पैसा वापस देकर इन्वेस्टर्स को उन गवर्नमेंट सिक्योरिटीज़ को वापस से खरीद रही है. दैट इज़ द बाय बैक, राइट? नाउ व्हाट इज़ द स्विचिंग? इन द टर्म्स ऑफ स्विचिंग व्हाट एग्जैक्टली गवर्नमेंट डू? लेट्स टेक एन एग्जांपल कि ये गवर्नमेंट सिक्योरिटीज़ पहले से इशूड थी विद सम मैच्योरिटी, ठीक है. अब गवर्नमेंट ने एक्सटेंडेड मैच्योरिटी के साथ नई गवर्नमेंट सिक्योरिटीज़ को इशू कर दिया. क्लियर? सो नई गवर्नमेंट सिक्योरिटीज़ को इशू कर दिया विद द एक्सटेंडेड टाइमलाइन. So this is called switching. Clear? And they may use the green shoe option. Oh, what is the green shoe option? Let's take an example that government ने 100 रुपीज़ की गवर्नमेंट सिक्योरिटीज़ को इशू किया था. क्लियर? बट यहाँ पर लोगों की डिमांड है, मार्केट की डिमांड है कि हम तो 120 तक वी कैन परचेज द 120 अमाउंट ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट सिक्योरिटीज़ and there is a very strong demand. So in this scenario what the government can do, that it can issue 20 more securities under the green shoe option. Clear everyone? Clear everyone? Now moving ahead, basically the security amount for this is ₹2,000 crore per security. Clear? Now RBI has fixed the ways and means advances limit for the first half of 26-27 at ₹2.5 lakh crores. Now what is the ways and mean advances? Guys, you all know that in a family, when you are living in a family, the sudden expenditures can come anytime. There can be any medical emergency situation, there can be anything, right? Let's take an example. There was a leakage in the house. We need to change the entire pipeline, water pipeline of the house. So there will be a lot of expenditure on that, right? Similarly, there are many times when government is having such kind of situation, and it is basically now some time is there that its receipts will be coming of the taxes, right? So in order to, in such kind of scenario when there is a mismatch in the liquidity of the government at that point of time, to whom we go? we go to the banks. Similarly, Government of India will be going to which bank in which you are trying to enter to, that is the Reserve Bank of India. So government moves to the Reserve Bank of India, please give us some money, we will be returning you back the money after some time, right? So Reserve Bank of India provide this short-term liquidity support to the Government of India to manage the temporary mismatches between its receipts and the expenditures. They are essentially temporary loans that help the government meet immediate payment obligations without reporting to the market borrowing. राइट सो यहाँ पर मार्केट बोरोइंग वाला ऑप्शन जो था इसको हमने यूज़ नहीं किया, बल्कि हमने वेज एंड मीन्स एडवांसेस को यूज़ कर लिया. इट इज़ एडिशनल टू द मार्केट बोरोइंग. क्लियर? एंड सी द वेज एंड मीन्स एडवांसेस के अंदर गवर्नमेंट को इंश्योर करना है कि इट विल बी रीपेइंग द अमाउंट टिपिकली विद इन 90 days ऑफ द पीरियड. So WMA is governed by mutually agreed limits and must be repaid within a short duration, typically 90 days. You all know that एक NPA, एक अकाउंट NPA कब बनता है दोस्तों? 90 days के बाद, राइट? 90 days तक प्रिंसिपल, मतलब जो मेच्योरिटी टाइमलाइन था when the principal and the interest was amount was required to be paid in the complete part. So now if for the 90 days this has not been done, so it becomes the NPA, right? Similarly, you can just correlate this, although this is not the technical part, but still you can correlate this, that government is also required to ensure that it is going to repay that amount in 90 days only. Otherwise there is the khatra of NPA, right? So you can remember it like this. Clear everyone? So if the government exceeds this limit, it enters into the overdraft, which carries the stricter conditions and higher interest implications. So with this we are done with all the important details about the government finalizes borrowing plan for the first half of the fiscal year 26-27. The overall plan is of 16.09 lakh crores, in which 8.2 lakh crore will be borrowed in the first half through the dated securities, including the 15,000 crore of the sovereign green bonds, right? The borrowing will be conducted through 26 weekly auctions across the maturities of 3, 5, 7, 10, 13, 15, 30, 14, 50 years. Right, the green shoe option is having the rupees 2,000 crore per security, and the ways and means advances are of 2.5 lakh crore. Let me tell you, these details are very, very important from examination point of view. Let's try to answer them with the help of a Drishyam round now. So please tell me, what is the gross market borrowing plan for the Government of India for the fiscal year 26-27? That is 16.09 lakh crores. Absolutely right. And what is that amount that government has set per security in terms of green shoe option? That is rupees 2,000 crores. RBI has fixed the ways and means advances limit for first half of the year 26-27 at which number? That is 2.5 lakh crores. That is the right answer. The ways and means advances the short-term liquidity support which is provided to the Government of India by which organization? Reserve Bank of India. And in how many days the government is required to pay back that amount? That is 90 days. That is 90 days. That is the right answer. Clear everyone? I hope that you are able to understand and retain all the information that we have covered till now from the examination point of view. Are you guys liking the way we are covering this session? We are conducting this session. मजा आ रहा है सभी को? Okay ji. So everybody is enjoying. That's really good to hear. Let's move on to the next set of news articles now. SEBI has launched a verified label for stock trading apps on the Google Play Store. So my dear friends, SEBI has launched the verified label for stock trading apps on the Google Play Store. You know what was happening is that in the market there are so many fraudsters who create the apps which are, you know, the complete copy. Even you know that in the Chinese market or in the market of some markets of India as well, like there is a Gafar market in the Delhi. You will be going there guys, and there will be a person who you will be seeing there, and he will be offering you the AirPods of the Apple company, right? And you won't be even able to recognize the difference between the actual original AirPods and these copy AirPods, right? Even like the Apple is having inside that earbud, it is having that, you know, kind of a barcode scanner. Similarly, the same kind of scanner, they will be having the barcode lines on that particular product. So we are not even able to identify, and at times what happens, we become the victim of such kind of scams. We basically purchase them so that okay, I am getting the good product in a very low price, right? And when you go back to home after a week, you see that now it is, not performing well as per your expectations. So then you realize that what has happened to you actually, right? Similarly, what was happening nowadays, that there are so many stock trading apps on our Google Play Store, and you know what, there are some fraudsters who are creating hubahu the complete copy of these apps on the Google Play Store, and the people who are just investing in the stocks with the help of these trading apps, they just thought that we are basically using the certified apps, the official apps, but what actually was happening is the money got deducted from their accounts and now it is just vanished. Now they are just helpless. So SEBI got to know about this, and the SEBI is the regulator of the market. So SEBI thought that okay, so this is the scenario. Okay, let us try to have a one easy solution for that. I am having a good friendship with the Google Play Store, right? So I am joining hands with the Google Play Store. He is my good friend, and now on all the apps which are being created by the SEBI registered stock trader, SEBI registered brokers, so they will be having a verified label. So now the people who are creating such kind of apps which are not registered, which are fraud apps, right, they won't be having that verified label. So that's how the people will be able to understand that okay, which is the original app, which is the copy of the app. Exactly. So my dear friends, SEBI has launched to ensure this. For the investor protection, SEBI has come up with a verified label for stock trading apps on the Google Play Store. So these kind of SEBI registered brokers, stock trading apps on the Google Play Store, they will be having verified label over there. So it is going to curb the fraudulent trading apps that impersonate genuine platforms and mislead the retail investors. The verified badge will be displayed on the apps of the SEBI registered entities, with plans to extend it to other regulated intermediaries as well in the upcoming timeline. And for this we have collaborated with the Google, right? And investors are advised to now follow the CVV approach. See guys, now SEBI has done its work. Now it is the responsibility of the citizens to be aware and to follow this approach, and that is why SEBI came up with the CVV approach. Guys, you all know, you are having a credit card, right? Every card is having a CVV number behind this. We are not talking about that number right now. We are talking about the CVV approach launched by the SEBI. This is the check, validate and verify. First of all, please check that whether the bank account via SEBI check on the Sarthi app, then please validate the UPI ID, whether it is a valid UPI ID or not, and then verify the label app as well. Verify app label as well. After doing all of these things, if you are also into the stock trading, please ensure the next time you are going to invest money through any app, you are doing these 3 steps. So what are the steps you will be following? CVV step. Check, validate and verify. That's all from this article. And the name of the chairman of the SEBI is Tuhin Kant Pandaji. Clear everyone? Getting the point? Understanding it? So let's try to answer this question. SEBI has launched which label? Verified label. Verified label is the right answer. SEBI has introduced verified label for the stock trading apps. The initiative aims to curb the fraudulent apps that impersonate the genuine platforms. Now what is the approach SEBI has launched? CVV approach. That is the check, validate and verify. That's all. Check, validate and verify. That's all. Clear everyone? Now we are moving on to the next news article. Now the next news article is on the Union Budget 26-27 measure for strengthening the special economic zones. So my dear friends, I hope that you guys are able to recall this article. We covered that Government of India has provided a flexibility to the special economic zone exporters, that they can sell some portion of their products into the Indian market. Do you guys remember that article? Are you people able to recall that article? So this is the similar article only. Basically this step was being launched by the Union Budget. It was introduced in the Union Budget, where we are providing a one-time measure. So basically what was happening is that if the special economic zone unit is there in the SEZ, so they can basically export some products to the Indian domestic tariff area at a concessional duty rates, right? They can sell their products in the domestic markets of the India. And whenever we are bringing the items from the SCZ to the domestic tariff area, it is called import. So they need to pay the concessional duty. They need to pay the duty, but government of India has provided them that, okay, don't worry, as you are really performing good, and right now we are providing you as a one-time relief measure. So what you can do, that you can export these products to the India DTA at a concessional duty rates. So do you want me to repeat this whole article again, or we can skip this article for now? Because see, we have already discussed this article in a very, very detailed manner. One number that is new to this article, that is that there are total 368 notified special economic zones in India as of 28 February 2026. Why I am asking this? Because in the previous year we have seen the question was how many special economic zone units are there in India. Clear? So I can see in the chat box that everybody is able to recall this article. That means that we are not required to cover this article again. So I am just skipping this article, but for all of you, this is the homework. You will be covering this article in a complete manner, right? आप सभी इस आर्टिकल को पूरा करेंगे, पूरा पढ़ेंगे. क्लियर एवरीवन? और इस आर्टिकल के सभी आंसर्स को आप मुझे बताएंगे फॉर दिस दृश्यम राउंड. So yesterday also I saw that only a single student answered me all the questions, right? I appreciate the effort of the student. But what about you people, the remaining people? You guys again just forgot your homework. Guys, again I am telling you, please be serious, right? So please ensure that you are going to give me the answer to all these questions in the Drishyam round of this particular article number 11, article number 12 on the PDF, right? Let's move on to the next news article. So the government has retained the inflation target at 4% for the 26 to 31 period. So guys, you all know that government of India is always having an eye on the inflation. We always want to ensure that, see, the prices when they are increasing, they are somehow good for the economy, right? But when these prices are increasing at a very high rate, that is not at all good for the economy. We need to contain that. And that's why government of India is always having the inflation target, that we have to always remain in this particular range only. If the range is getting disturbed, if we are deviating from this range, then again we have to, this is a concern. Let's take an example, guys. You are riding your car over a highway. You are riding a car over a highway, right? You are riding a car over the highway, and the government says that the speed limit of the car there is between 20 to 60 km per hour. That means if your speed is increasing and it is surpassing the 60 km per hour, that is a cause of concern. You can be challaned. And if you are on a highway and your speed is less than 20 km per hour, then again you can be challaned. Because let's take an example that where this speed, maintaining this speed of less than 20 km per hour on a highway is not at all good, right? It can cause inconvenience to the other commuters. Similarly, my dear friends, we have to ensure, when we are talking about the car of the Indian economy, we have to ensure that it is having a certain speed, and the speed of inflation we are talking about here, and the inflation should be at a target of 4%, and we are having some kind of cushion there, that it should be plus minus 2%. That means the range will be set at 6% and lower limit at 2%. The upper limit is at 6% and the lower limit is at 2%. If the inflation is deviating from these two limits, then what will happen? This is a cause of concern for the government of India. They have to step in to take the measures. And how exactly, who is responsible in our own country for containing the inflation? You know what? The organization in which you are trying to enter by giving this examination. So there is a committee in this organization which always, every 2 months, it sits and it gives and it comes up with so many different data. And the most important one is the repo rate. So what is that repo rate? Whether we are increasing it or reducing it. If there is an inflation, guys, if the inflation is really increasing at a very high pace, what RBI will do? RBI will increase the repo rate. So what will happen? The banks who were purchasing, who were getting the money from the RBI at a lower rate earlier, now they have to pay more. So there will be less amount of money in the market available, and this will bring the prices lower down, right? It will slow down the economy. Similarly, if the inflation is getting less than 2%, so now we need to induce the growth in the economy. How we can do that? We can reduce the interest rates. So what will happen when we are reducing the interest rates? So the bank will be able to take the money from the Reserve Bank of India. Similarly, we will be able to take the money from the banks. We can expand our businesses, we can expand our work, and that's how we will be inducing the growth in the economy. Clear, everyone? So this onus is on the Monetary Policy Committee of the Reserve Bank of India. That's why every 2 months it sits and it basically gives us the data. And let me tell you that this inflation targeting framework was being adopted by the India in 2016. This is the second instance of retaining the same inflation target, where MPC remains responsible for maintaining the price stability through interest rate decisions. MPC is a 6-member body headed by the Reserve Bank of India governor, which calibrates interest rates to keep retail inflation anchored. Clear? So that's all from this part, and we are not required to cover this wala part. Why? Because we have already covered the latest data about this particular part. The top 5 states with the highest inflation. Right? I hope that this is clear to everyone. So now let's try to answer the question. Government is retaining inflation target at what percent? At 4%. So 4% is the right answer. Upper tolerance level set at 6%, lower limit at 2%. The decision continues the existing inflation targeting framework adopted in which year? 2016. That is the right answer. Clear, everyone? Now we are moving on to the next article, that is the OECD. So OECD has projected India's GDP growth at 7.6% in the fiscal year 26 and 6.1% in the fiscal year 27. Let me tell you that in 2022, when the RBI Grade B officer examination took place in the RBI Grade B phase 2 exam, there was a question on the OECD economic outlook. In the mains examination, 8 marks of the questions were being asked from the OECD economic outlook. That's why we are covering this in the article today, right? So why exactly I am telling you the relevance of these articles? So that you can understand that whatever we are covering is on the right direction. These questions that we are covering in the articles, they have already been asked in the examination in the previous years, right? So they can be asked in this year also. Now guys, please move ahead. The OECD, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, projected India's GDP growth rate at 7.6% for 25-26. So it is 7.6% in 26, 6.1% in 27. The fiscal year 27 growth rate lower due to the global uncertainty, rising energy prices, gas rationing and fading fiscal support. India is expected to remain the world's fastest growing major economy. Growth also projected at 6.4% for the 27-28. So for 25-26, 7.6%. For 26-27, 6.1%. For 27-28, 6.4%. 7.6, 6.1, 6.4. Please remember this. And the inflation in the India is going to be 5.1%. Now moving to the global growth rate. So the global GDP growth rate is projected to remain stable at 2.9% in 2026 and 3% in 2027. That's all. Clear, everyone? Now moving on to the OECD. So OECD is also important organization. So it is an international organization which works to promote the economic growth, stability and improved living standards globally. Forerunner of the OECD was the Organization for European Economic Cooperation. It was the forerunner, and after that OECD came into the picture. The convention transforming the OEEC to the OECD was signed at the Chateau de la Meute in Paris. तो पेरिस के अंदर दोस्तों एक अग्रीमेंट साइन किया गया था, एंड आफ्टर दैट इन 1961 वी सॉ the existence, the origination of the OECD, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Earlier it was Organization for European Economic Cooperation, right? It was converted into the OECD in 1961, which is headquartered in Paris, France, and the Secretary General is Matthias Cormann. Matthias Cormann is the Secretary General for this particular organization. Clear, everyone? Now let's try to answer this question. So OECD has projected India's GDP growth rate in fiscal year 26 at what percentage? 7.6%. And the fiscal year 27, 6.1%. right? So OECD has projected India's GDP growth rate at 7.6% in the fiscal year 25-26, 6.1% in 26-27. Dash is expected to remain the world's fastest growing major economy, that is India. Inflation in India is projected to rise to dash percent in fiscal year 27. So what is that year? Inflation in India is projected to rise to what percentage in fiscal year 27? 5.1%. Now in the 27-28, the GDP growth forecast for India will be 6.4%. The global growth rate is going to be 2.9% in 2026 and 3% in 2027. Moving on to the next part. The Organization for Economic Cooperation Development, earlier it was OEEC. It was basically Organization for European Economic Cooperation. It was then converted into the OECD. So this agreement, Chateau de la Meute, was signed in Paris on 14 December 1960 and entered into a force on 30 December 1961. That is the right answer. It is established in Paris, France, established in 1961, headquartered in Paris, France, and Secretary General is Matthias Cormann. Matthias Cormann is the right answer. So who has given me the answer in the chat box? Material share. Harshal, Kashish, Kavya, Shruti, Srishti, everybody has given the right answer. Well done everyone. Let's move on to the next news article now. Are you ready for the next article? My dear future officers, please ensure that you are staying hydrated throughout this session as well, right? So that you are really having a good amount of energy to attend this particular session. Clear? Moving on to the next article. The Ministry of Environment notified the Solid Waste Management Rules 2027. So guys, you all know that India is a circular economy. What is a circular economy? Where we are using one thing and again. For example, I am having this bottle, right? So let's take an example. This bottle was of plastic. So I would have used it once, I would have thrown it now, right? But now this is a copper bottle, right? So what I do on the daily basis, I just wash it, I use it, I clean it, and I again use it. So this is the example of circular economy where you are using one thing again and again, right? So earlier, my dear friends, let me tell you that India was having a lot of solid waste management. You all know that India is having a very big population. So there is a lot of solid waste management in our country, right? But now the government of India started thinking about the circular economy. How exactly we are doing this? We are doing this by, converting this waste into a resource which can be used for anything. The resource can be used as a fuel as well, right? So the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change has notified the Solid Waste Management Rules 2026 under the Environment Protection Act 1986. तो Environment Protection Act 1986 के अंडर Solid Waste Management Rules 2026 को notify किया गया है. Rules will come into force from 1st April 2026, replacing the Solid Waste Management Rule 2016. तो 2016 के रूल्स को 2026 से रिप्लेस किया गया. इट विल बी स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम 1st April 2026. द की प्रिंसिपल इज अबाउट सर्कुलर इकोनॉमी. आई ऑलरेडी टोल्ड यू. एक्सटेंडेड प्रोड्यूसर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी and polluter pays. We will be discussing all these things one by one. Now the environmental compensation will to be levied for the non-compliance. CPCB will issue guidelines and the State Pollution Control Board will levy penalties. So all the stakeholders are going to work in a coherence in order to ensure the sustainability of the things. So environmental compensation will be levied for the non-compliance. If there is any organization which is not following the rules, we will be penalizing those organizations. Online centralized portal will be launched to monitor the waste generation, collection, transportation, processing, disposal and legacy waste remediation. So my dear friends, you all know that, on everyday basis, you know that there is a government vehicle which comes to our doorstep to collect the waste, right? singing the song of Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. Clear everyone? So you always see that there are always two sections. One is blue and green in that part. One is for the solid waste, one is for the liquid waste, wet waste, right? So we always ensure that there is a segregation even at the step of the collection, right? So now we need to understand that we want to monitor the waste generation, its collection, its transportation, how it has been transported, and how exactly it has been processed, it is disposed, and legacy waste remediation. Faster land allocation for the waste processing with buffer zone norms. Guidelines to be framed by the Central Pollution Control Board. There must be a faster land allocation for the waste processing. Local bodies mandated to coordinate with the material recovery facilities which will serve as sorting and deposition centers. So there will be local bodies which will be mandated to coordinate with the material recovery facilities. Right? Carbon credit generation will be encouraged. Special attention mandated for the peri-urban rural areas. There will be special provision for the hilly areas and islands. Why so? My dear friend, let's take an example that you are going to an island, right? For spending your holidays after you become the Reserve Bank of India Grade B officer, right? And you are going to any island. So please tell me, when you are just going on that beach of the island and you see that there is a lot of waste there and it is smelling a lot, right? So basically you come all the way to this island and you are facing this kind of environment there. Will you really like going there or staying there? Answer is no, right? You won't be liking there or stay there. Similarly, if you are going to the hilly areas, so in the hilly areas also you see that there is a lot of waste at one particular area. You won't be staying there for a long time. So let me tell you here that this kind of situation can impact the economy of these hilly areas and islands, because their economies are generally based on the tourism sector only, right? So that is why we need to ensure that we are providing special provision for the hilly areas and islands. With the tourist user fees, regulated inflow, decentralized waste processing via the hotels, designated non-biodegradables, waste points. Clear everyone? And we need to ensure that there is a 4-stream segregation at source itself. There is the 4-stream segregation. First of all, we are having 4 types of waste: wet waste, dry waste, sanitary waste, and the special care waste. Now what is the wet waste? It is the kitchen waste, right? When you are for example, it's very hot right now, right, in the North India. So it is the mango season right now going on. So you just bring the mangoes and you make the mango shake, right? You drink the mango shake. So you peel off the outer layer of the mango. Now this is the waste. This is the kitchen waste now. So you have to ensure that you are segregating that waste, because this is biodegradable, right? Then comes the dry waste. What is the dry waste? For example, plastic, metal, paper, rubber. For example, you have, there are so many people I know that who are there in our class who have basically completed the 2 copies. They have filled the 2 copies with the practicing the questions on the reasoning and the quants, right, and English. So now after ending of the copy, what exactly you do? Do you dump it? So this is now the part of the dry waste, right? Then comes the sanitary waste. The diapers, the sanitary pads to be securely wrapped and stored separately, right? Then comes the special care waste, like paint cans are there, bulbs are there, medicines are there. So they should be collected by authorized agencies or deposited designated centers also. So there are so many times we are having the medicines which are expired medicines. There are paint cans as well, right? So we cannot mix everything and we are just throwing it into this van. No, answer is no. We have to ensure that we are segregating the waste across these 4 areas. One is the wet waste, dry waste, sanitary waste, and special care waste. Why so? Because when this waste will be collected and it will be going to the landfill, so there they will be asking for a very bigger price. Why? Because that waste that you are bringing there is not segregated properly. So we have to ensure that the waste is properly segregated. Then only you will be dumping that waste in those landfills at a very lower rate. Clear everyone? Now comes the bulk waste generation. So there are so many organizations which are the bulk waste generators. For example, there is a public office. There is a public office, right? And 500 people are working there. So basically 500 people are working there. Everybody is using one thing or the other throughout the day, right? So they are generating a lot of waste. So the entities which are having the floor area more than 20,000 square meters, and they are using the water usage is more than 40,000 liters per day, or they are generating more than 100 kg per day of the waste, then this is called the bulk waste generator. This can include the government departments, PSUs, institutions, commercial units, residential societies. They must manage the waste collection, transport and process in an environmentally sound manner. User fees allowed as per the local bylaws. Extended bulk waste generator responsibility should be there. So the BWGs, that is the bulk waste generator, to process wet waste on site or obtain the EBWGR certificate. या तो उनको वो वेस्ट वहीं पर प्रोसेस करना पड़ेगा, या फिर उनको एक्सटेंडेड बल्क वेस्ट जनरेटिव रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी का सर्टिफिकेट लेना होगा. Clear everyone? The BWGs account for approx 30% of the total solid waste. Refuse derived fuel. Now what is the refuse derived fuel, my dear friends? Refuse derived fuel. So there are so many of the waste which are non-recyclable in nature, but they are having high calorific value, and now these can be converted into the refuse derived fuel. So the mandatory replacement of the solid fuel with the RDF in industries like cement plants, WTE units. So we are now encouraging these cement plants so that they can take these kind of solid fuels. They can replace the solid fuels with the refuse derived fuels. Now the landfilling and legacy waste management. Landfills restricted to inert and non-recyclable, non-energy recoverable waste. तो waste वही जाए वहाँ पर जो non-recyclable हो. Higher landfill fees for unsegregated waste to incentivize segregation. तो हम basically क्या करेंगे, हम incentivize करेंगे segregation को, और जो unsegregated waste लेकर आएगा उसको penalize करेंगे, उससे ज़्यादा fees charge करेंगे, right? The annual landfill audits by the state pollution control boards, oversight by the district collectors, mapping and assessment of the legacy waste dump sites made mandatory, time-bound biomining and bioremediation, quarterly progress reporting via portal should be done. Clear everyone? So these are the solid waste management rules. So can anybody tell me that they will be replacing which rule? They will be replacing the rule of 2016 with the rule of 2026. It will be implemented from 1st April 2026. Clear? CPCB will be issuing the guidelines for this. They will be monitoring the waste generation, collection, transportation, processing and the disposal. Faster land allocation for the waste processing with buffer zone norms will be there. Local bodies mandated to coordinate with the material recovery facilities. Carbon credit generation should be encouraged. Special provisions for the hilly and island area will be there. There will be a 4-stream segregation at source. That is the waste, wet waste, dry waste, sanitary waste and the special care waste. Then we are having the bulk waste generators, entities with a floor area of more than 20,000 square meters. Water use is more than 40,000 liters per day, or the waste is generated more than 100 kgs per day. So all these are the different things, right? Now let's try to answer these questions. So Ministry of Environment notified the Solid Waste Management Rules 2026, and it is replacing the Solid Waste Management Rules 2016. Right? It will be under which act of the Environment Protection, guys? It will be under which act? So we have covered this. So this is, yes, this is the 1986. Absolutely right. So we are having the act of 1986. So we did not revise it. So that's why I again went back to that so that you can revise it, right? So it is the 1986. Rules will come into force from which date? 1st April 2026. The key principles include circular economy, extended producer responsibility and polluter pays. The environmental compensation to be levied for non-compliance. Dash will issue guidelines. Who will be issuing the guidelines? Central Pollution Control Board. Dash portal to monitor the waste generation, collection, transportation, processing. There should be some online portals to monitor the waste generation. There will be special provision for what? For the hilly areas and the islands. Then there should be a 4-stream segregation at source. What are these different types of waste? These are the wet waste, solid waste, sanitary waste and the special care waste. Entities with a floor area of more than 20,000 square meters, or the water usage is more than 40,000 liters per day, or the waste is more than equal to 100 kg per day. So this will be coming under the bulk waste generators. Clear everyone? I hope this is clear to all. Now let's move on to the next news article now. That is the 99.92% villages covered with the banking outlets within the 5-kilometer radius. So my dear friends, you all know, for example, whenever you are shifting to any place, what exactly you see there? You always see that all the public amenities are within the range. For example, the shops are range, right? Your daily essentials shop are in the range. Just in the range of 1 or 2 minutes, you can basically access those things, right? The health facilities, transport facilities should be in the range. Similarly, my dear friends, you all know that in India, as a part of financial inclusion, we have tried to open as many bank branches as possible, right? But what if these bank branches are there, but they are not within the range of the, of the last mile people? So again, the financial inclusion basically means the bringing the people under the formal banking system, right? But we have basically opened the bank branches, but these are not accessible. There is no use of them. So that's why Government of India ensured that the availability of the banking outlets, it can be a bank branch, business correspondents, India Post Payment Bank, within the 5 kilometer of all inhabited villages. So जितने भी villages हैं इंडिया के अंदर, उनके within 5 kilometers के range में एक bank branch का होना अनिवार्य है. Clear? That is, it is mandatory. We want to achieve this particular target. So the banking infrastructure is monitored through the GIS based Jan Dhan Darshak app. So guys, whenever you want to go to some new place where you have never been, so what happens, what exactly you do? You just search the destination on the Google Maps and then you go with the help of the Google Map, right? Similarly, let me tell you, this Jan Dhan Darshak app is going to act as the Google Map for the banking facilities, like where exactly these banks are, the banking correspondents are, the India Post Payment Banks are. So by anyhow, we have to provide them the banking facilities. So as per the data updated by the banks on the Jan Dhan Darshak app, 99.92% of the villages in the country are covered within a 5-kilometer radius. That means 99.92% villages ऐसे हैं जिनके within 5 kilometer of the radius we are having this banking facility, right? 100% villages in the Union Territory of Dadar and Nagar Haveli are covered with the banking outlets within the same radius. Clear everyone? When it comes to the Jan Dhan Darshak app, it is developed by the Department of Financial Services, Ministry of Finance and the National Informatics Center. तो इन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ने मिलकर इसको लॉन्च किया है, डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज अंडर द मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ फाइनेंस एंड द नेशनल इंफॉर्मेटिक्स सेंटर. They have came up for the Jan Dhan Darshak app. Clear everyone? Are you guys getting it? So let's try to answer the questions. 99.92% villages covered with the banking outlets within how much kilometer range? That is the 5-kilometer range. So the banking infrastructure is monitored through the GIS based Jan Dhan Darshak app. As per the data uploaded by the banks on the GDD app, dash percentage of the villages in the country are covered within a 5-kilometer range. How many? 99.92%. 100% of the villages in the Union Territory of Dadar and Nagar Haveli are covered with the banking outlets within the same radius. The Jan Dhan Darshak app was developed by Department of Financial Services and National Informatics Center. So with this, my dear friends, we are done with this news article. Clear to everyone? I hope everybody of you is able to answer these questions in the chat box. Now guys, moving on to the next article, the census 27. So guys, the first article of the 2026 April month, we covered the census 2027 only, right? So I don't think that there is a special requirement of covering it again. So this is the homework for all of you, and again, you have to give me the answers about the census 2027 in the comment section. Clear everyone? So we are done with the 17 articles for now. So my dear friends, it's been more than a 1.5 hour that we are conducting this session, and now I think it's a good time to take a water break. Right? It's a good time to take a water break, and we will be back after the break now. Okay? In the meantime, you guys can also have this break and you can move ahead and you can have some rest and you can come back with the revitalized energy. Clear everyone? Right now the time in my watch is 5:39. We will be back by 5:46. Your break time starts now. So my dear future RBI officers, I hope that everybody is back after the break. Please give me a thumbs up in the chat box if you guys are back so that we can resume the session. I believe that everybody is energetic and got their energies back for completing the remaining part of the session. So let me tell you here that half of the session is completed and half of the session is remaining right now. Okay, and today's session can be a little bit longer in the nature, so please make sure that you are preparing yourself in the similar manner for this session. Please mark your attendance in the chat box so that we can resume the session. So is everybody back? Okay, so thank you for giving me the responses in the chat box. So now my dear friends, let's move on to the next news article. So the government has approved the 29 additional proposals under the ECMS scheme. So what are these proposals? Let me tell you guys that Government of India wants to ensure that India becomes the exporting hub for the electronic parts. You all know that India is having a very big population, right? And every person is having mobile phone. And even there are people who are having two mobile phones, right? Or even the people are having the mobile phone, laptop, tablet, right? Everything is there, iPad is there. So basically, what is there? The government wants that if we are just bringing the particles, bringing the items in our country and we are assembling them and creating this mobile phone, so India will always be dependent on the other countries. But what if we are making these products on our own? So India can export these items to the world, right? So that's why under the electronic component manufacturing scheme, where we are focusing and we are promoting more and more manufacturing of electronic components, the ECMS scheme was being launched. And right now, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology has approved 29 proposals under the electronics component manufacturing scheme. Clear? It has been launched by the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology to boost domestic manufacturing of electronic components, to reduce the import dependence on critical components, to strengthen supply chains and enhance the value addition within India. To strengthen supply chain and enhance value addition within India, to reduce import dependency, to boost domestic manufacturing, we have come up with this particular scheme. Launched by which ministry? Ministry of Electronics Information Technology. The approved proposal involved a projected investment of Rs 7,104 crore and projected production of 84,515 crores. And it will be generating the direct employment of 14,246 opportunities in the country. Total 75 applications have been approved under the ECMS with cumulative expected investment of 61,671 crore. And guys, basically we are focusing here on strengthening the domestic value addition, reducing the dependency on the imports of the electronic components. And we want to make India the exporting hub. So that is why this scheme has been launched. Its objective, target segments, types of incentives, and the tenure of the scheme has been given. The tenure is basically for a period of 6 years with 1 year of the gestation period. The capital incentive will be of the period of 5 years. Clear everyone? So how many new proposals have been approved by the government? That is 29 proposals. What is the name of the ministry? Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. Right? So the approved proposal will involve projected investment of Rs 7,104 crore rupees and projected production of Rs 84,515 crores. Let's try to answer these questions. Government has approved how many additional proposals under the ECMS scheme? That is, we are having 29 proposals. So which ministry has approved the 29 proposals? That is Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. The scheme was launched by MeitY only, and the approved proposal involved a projected investment of 7,104 crore and the projected production is around 84,515 crore rupees. Clear everyone? So we are done with this news article. Now moving on to the next news article now. So my dear friends, the next news article is on the index of industrial production. Let me tell you here the index of industrial production. Again, it is the data of the February 2026. We have already seen and covered the data of the month of April in the month of May, right? So we are not required to cover this data from examination point of view. This is an outdated one. So we can skip this data. Clear? Let's move on to the next news article. The union budget has increased the healthcare allocation. Guys, you all know that healthcare is one of the very, very important pillar. And Government of India is focusing a lot on the healthcare of the people. And that is why the union budget 26-27 has increased the allocation of the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare by 10%. By how much percent it has been increased? By 10% to rupees 1,06,530.42 crore rupees. मार्किंग 194% राइज ओवर द 12 ईयर्स. तो 12 साल से कंपेयर करेंगे तो 194% का इंक्रीमेंट हुआ. लास्ट ईयर से 10% का इंक्रीज हुआ इन द एलोकेशन. द डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ हेल्थ रिसर्च हैज बीन एलोकेटेड रुपीज 4821.21 crore rupees. 100% custom duty exemption has been announced in the 17 new cancer drugs. The budget targets training of 1 lakh allied health professionals and 1.5 lakh caregivers over the next 5 years. So in the next 5 years, we will be training 1 lakh allied health professionals and 1.5 lakh caregivers. The Union Budget 26-27 has increased the allocation of the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare by 10% to 1.06 lakh crore rupees. The Department of Health Researches allocated rupees 4821.21 crore rupees. The customs exemption, 100% of the custom exemption has been announced on 17 new cancer drugs. So this is something that we need to understand here from the examination point of view. It proposes establishing the 3 new All India Institutes of Ayurveda and upgrading the WHO Global Traditional Medicine Center. Where it is located? The WHO Global Traditional Center, it is in the Jamnagar, Gujarat. Now let's try to answer these questions of the next part. So Union Budget has increased the healthcare allocation. So the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare's allocation has been increased by 10%. Right? What is the percentage of the custom duty exemption which has been announced on 17 new cancer drugs? That is 100%. The budget targets the training of how many allied health professionals? 1 lakh allied health professionals and 1.5 lakh caregivers. It proposes establishing how many new All India Institute of Ayurveda? That is 3. And the Global Traditional Medicine Center in which part? Jamnagar, Gujarat. That is the right answer. Clear to all? Everybody is able to give me the answer in the chat box. Please give me a thumbs up in the chat box if you guys are able to answer these questions. See, my dear friends, it is very, very important from the examination point of view that you are able to answer all these questions in the exam. I can see in the chat box everybody is able to answer these questions. Right? Now let's move on to the next news article. The funds released to the 5 states under Jal Jeevan Mission 2.0. My dear friends, again we are having the Jal Jeevan Mission, and we have discussed so many times the so many states which have signed the reform linked MOU under the Jal Jeevan Mission. Let me tell you that to these states only we have released the funds. But here what we have to cover, the total outlay for the scheme is 8.69 lakh crore rupees. Right? And what are the 5 states which have received this funds from the Government of India? That is Uttar Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Odisha and Maharashtra. These are the different states. And please tell me what is the extended timeline of the Jal Jeevan Mission 2.0? That is December 2028. Absolutely right. Clear everyone? So yes, फिर से जल जीवन मिशन आ चुका है दोस्तों. जल ही जीवन है, इसीलिए ये स्कीम भी बार बार न्यूज़ आर्टिकल्स में आती रहेगी. ठीक है? So we are done with this article. Let's move on to the next news article now. The CBIC has operationalized reforms for the e-commerce exports. So my dear friends, the e-commerce exports. CBIC has operationalized the reforms for these e-commerce exports. Now what exactly these are? So Central Board of Direct Taxes and Customs has implemented the reforms from 1st of April 2026 following the Union Budget announcement. So what are the changes that we have brought here? See guys, earlier what was happening is, if I am a local artisan of the Jaipur and I am having a very beautiful handicraft material of the Jaipur, right? And I want to export this handicraft to a foreign client, and the amount of this handicraft is more than 10 lakh rupees. So I was not allowed to export. But now Government of India has decided that we are reducing that we are eliminating this requirement of rupees 10 lakh wala part, right? And now you can basically export this item to your foreign client. So what will happen? This will enhance the livelihood and the income support to these local artisans. That is why, to enhance ease of doing business, especially for the MSMEs, artisans and the startups, and improve global export competitiveness, a recent measure focused on reducing the logistic inefficiencies, dwell time and the transaction cost through the system driven process simplification. Government of India and the CBIC, Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs, has operationalized the reforms for the e-commerce exports. So rupees 10 lakh value cap on the courier export consignments has been removed to boost the e-commerce exports and allow higher value shipments through the courier mode. Right, so the 10 lakh value cap on the courier export has now been removed. Now the next thing that we have launched is that a return to origin mechanism, RTO mechanism. Now what is the RTO mechanism? So it has been introduced for the faster clearance of the unclaimed imports. See guys, what happens is that, let's take an example that there is an import, right? And we are not even providing the clearance to it. What will happen? There is the piling of these imports on the port itself. So basically it will be creating a lot of issues, right? And even the person, the beneficiary, is not getting the import. So basically what we are doing is we are introducing a faster clearance of unclaimed imports, and then the uncleared courier imports beyond 15 days will be returned through a simplified process. अगर कोई ऐसा import है जो कि uncleared है, जिसका basically clearance ही नहीं मिला, तो उसको return किया जाएगा उसके simplified process के through. ठीक है, दिस इज द RTO, रिटर्न टू ऑरिजिन. बेसिकली इसको वापस भेजना है. ठीक है, द रिस्क बेस्ड फ्रेमवर्क हैज बीन अडॉप्टेड फॉर री इम्पोर्टिंग रिटर्न और रिजेक्टेड गुड्स. समटाइम्स व्हाट हैपेंस इज दैट यू आर exporting an item to the foreign client and the foreign client says that okay, in the picture it was so but now I am not liking it. So what was happening is that the person was rejecting that particular export. So what happened was that it was only lying there only. We were not bringing it back to the country. So now we have decided that we will be bringing that export to the country back, right? So we will be re-importing the returned or the rejected goods along with a dedicated return module to simplify the courier returns. Understanding the point? So CBIC has operationalized the reforms for the e-commerce exports. One change, 10 lakh value cap has been announced, right? We are removing it. Then return to origin mechanism has been announced. The import should be beyond 15 days. And then the risk-based framework has been adopted for re-importing returned or the rejected goods. Clear everyone? So now let's move on to the questions. CBIC has operationalized the reforms for the e-commerce exports. It is implemented reforms from dash following the union budget. So the Central Board of Indirect Taxes and the Custom implemented reforms from the e-commerce websites following the Union Budget 26-27 announcement. Reform aimed to enhance the ease of doing business, especially for MSMEs. The dash value cap on courier export consignment has been removed. What is that courier cap? So yes, they will be implemented from which date? 1st of April 2026, right? So what is that value cap? That is rupees 10 lakhs. A new mechanism has been introduced for faster clearance, that is the RTO mechanism, return to origin mechanism, of unclaimed imports, uncleared courier imports beyond how many days? 15 days. That's all from this news article. So my dear friends, I hope that this is clear to all. Everybody is able to answer all these questions from the examination point of view. Now let's move on to the next article. The CBDT has signed record 219 advance pricing agreements in fiscal year 25-26. Now what is this advanced pricing agreement, guys? Let's take an example that you have cleared the RBI Grade B officer exam. Now you are making that plan which always got cancelled. What's that plan, my dear friends? The Goa wala plan. The plan of visiting Goa, right? This is the very common plan which always cancelled among the friends, right? So before going to Goa with your friends, you basically decided that okay, we will be going with the cab. This will be the expenditure on the cab. We will be having these foods. This will be the expected expenditure. Then we will be going for the next part, that is we will be staying in the hotel, then we will be having this kind of expenditure, right? Similarly, let me give you an example that me and Jalal sir went on to Nepal for a trip of a bike riding trip, right? So it was around 10 to 15 days of trip. So what happened is that as it was a 15 days trip, so we decided that okay, there will be this much amount of cost on the fuel, there will be this much amount of cost on the hotels, there will be this much amount of cost on the food, there will be this much amount of cost on the other purchasing that we do, right? So both of us are foodies, so there was a lot of bill from there. So basically what happened is that before going to that particular trip, we decided that okay, this is the contribution that I will be giving, this is the contribution that he will be giving, so that there is not any kind of problem and issue among us, right? So the same kind of thing is being done by the government and the taxpayers. What they do for the upcoming financial year, see, government is there in order to take the tax from these companies. So government says that okay, hey company, for this year let's try to see, you just make sure that you finalize your prices that you will be charging to for all your parties, right? Whatever the charges that you will be having with all your parties, so we can just decide on the basis of that, this is the total amount of tax that you have to pay, right? So that there is not any kind of issue after that. We are, both of us are on the same page. Getting it point? Getting it, my dear friends? Are you guys getting the point? So what we are doing is we are basically signing an advance pricing agreement. That means the prices that we are going to charge in the upcoming timeline, we are basically signing it today only, so that there is no problem in the future. Now here guys, there are two types of agreement. There is an advance pricing agreement, there is a bilateral advance pricing agreement. Now APA has been signed between the government and the taxpayer, right? And the BAPA, in the BAPA is the bilateral advance pricing agreement. For example, that the company was there, right? It is operating in Japan and India also. Japan is also taking the tax, India is also taking the tax. So to avoid the double taxation, now we are having a bilateral advance pricing agreement with the Japan taxpayer authority, right? So that we can segregate the tax, that okay, what tax we will be having, what tax they will be charging. Clear everyone? So the Central Board of Direct Taxes has signed a record 219 advance pricing agreements in the fiscal year 25-26, which is the highest in any financial year. The total advance pricing agreements since inception has crossed 1000, reaching 1034, where 750 are unilateral APAs and 284 are bilateral APAs. Getting it? So advance pricing agreement we discussed, unilateral we discussed, and bilateral we discussed. The advanced pricing program aims to provide tax certainty by determining arm's length pricing of international transactions up to the 5 years. तो अभी क्या कर रहे हैं हम, अगले 5 साल का प्राइसेस अभी से सेट कर ले रहे हैं. Now what is this arm's length pricing? My dear friends, let's take an example that there is an Indian company, right? And it is going to charge some prices with the other companies. So basically we have to ensure that, let's take an example that the other company is also the subsidiary of this own company only. So there should not be any scenario where they are doing any biasness towards this company. It should be the same as they are doing with the other companies, so that we are already having the proper calculation that okay, how much exactly you are going to charge for the different prices, so that there is no problem. It should not be like see, this Y company was our own subsidiary, so basically we had some kind of biasness towards that company, so we charge some low taxes to that, low prices to that, so that is why we are having the low taxes there. So this should not be listened by the authority after that, right? So we have to ensure that we are providing tax certainty by determining the arm's length pricing. That means even it is subsidiary or not, we have to charge accordingly, right? It will be same for that. Clear everyone? Getting the point? So APA is an agreement between the taxpayer and the tax department on how to price international transactions in advance. तो ये इंटरनेशनल ट्रांजेक्शन्स को एडवांस में कैसे आप प्राइस करोगे, ये हम पहले से डिसाइड कर रहे हैं. 84 bilateral APAs were signed in 25-26, the highest ever in a single year. BAPAs were concluded with 13 treaty partners including the US, UK, Japan, Australia, France, Ireland, Indonesia, Sweden and others. The BAPA is simply an APA between the India and the another country's tax authority and also help avoid double taxation. Safe harbor rules. Now my dear friends, safe harbor rules complement the APA framework by providing a faster and a lower cost mechanism with fixed margins for specified international transactions across the 12 categories. So safe harbor rules are provisions under the tax law where the government prescribes fixed profit margins or conditions for the certain international transactions. For the certain international transactions we are having the fixed prices. Let's take an example, my dear friends, that you are going out. It was a birthday party, right? And you were taking your friends to a buffet. So in the buffet there is no separate pricing. There is no pricing for the dessert, separate pricing for the dessert, separate pricing for the main course, separate pricing for the snacks. No, nothing like that. There will be one price only. For example, we go for the barbecue nation. They are only charging us rupees 1200 for the complete. In that we can have unlimited snacks, unlimited dessert, unlimited main course, right? So there is no separate pricing. There is a fixed price. Similarly, under the safe harbor rules, government basically provides fixed profit margins. So basically, see, this is the fixed margin. You just tell us, okay, what was that? And we are not going to ask you. We are not going to scrutinize you. We are not going to, verify you. We will just accept you blindly. That's it. So this is the safe harbor rule. Are you getting it? The safe harbor rule, it complements the APA framework by providing the faster and lower cost mechanism. Clear? The safe harbor rules are provisions under the tax law where the government prescribes the fixed profit margins or the conditions for the certain international transactions, and if a taxpayer follows them, the tax authorities will automatically accept the pricing without detailed scrutiny. The Finance Act 2026 reforms include consolidation of the technology services into a single information technology services category with 15.5% margin and increase in the eligibility threshold from rupees 300 crore to rupees 2000 crores. So there is a category with a 15.5% margin and increase in the eligibility threshold from 300 crore to the 2000 crores. Clear? Everybody of you, please give me a thumbs up in the chat box if you are able to understand this article. See, या तो आप कर लोगे, I am quite sure and I believe in all of you. But क्या आप इसको समझ पाए हो? Are you guys able to understand it? Because I have tried all the bestest of the examples that I can give you to make you understand these examples, to make you understand these articles. So I can see Kashish, material share. They are saying that yes, we are able to understand this article in a comprehensive manner. That's really good to understand. That is really good to see. Clear? Herschel is also clear. Well done. So now let's try to revise this article. CBDT has recorded 219 APAs in 25-26, and my dear friends, the total APAs has since inception has crossed the value of the 1000. Right? 84 bilateral APAs were signed in 25-26, which is the highest ever in a single year. BAPs were concluded in the 13 treaty partners. Safe harbor rules were complemented with the APA framework across the 12 categories. Finance Act 26 is having the margin of 15.5% with increase in eligibility threshold from 300 crore to 2000 crore rupees. Clear everyone? Let's try to answer this question. CBDT has signed how many records? APAs, that is 219 advanced pricing agreements, right? 219. Total APAs since inception has crossed 1000, reaching 1034. The APA program aims to provide the tax certainty by determining the arm's length pricing of international transactions for up to how many years? For up to 5 years. The Finance Act reforms included the consolidation of technology services into a single information technology services category with 15.5% margin and increase in the eligibility threshold from 300 crore to rupees 2000 crores. So all these questions are been done. Are you guys able to understand it from examination point of view? So we are done with this article. Let's move on to the next news article now. So India leads globally in issuing compliance certificates under the Nagoya Protocol. So guys, under the Nagoya Protocol, we are leading globally in issuing the compliance certificates. So my dear friends, I would like to ask you, have we covered Nagoya Protocol earlier? We discussed so many times about access and benefit sharing, right? That this has been done under the Nagoya Protocol. That means if there is a village and it is preserving those medicinal plants for a long time, then there is a company which is coming into the village for the research, and it sees that okay, this is a very good medicine, we can sell it, and now they are earning the profits from there. Now these profits should be shared with the village also. So that's what we call the access and benefit sharing. So India has become the global leader in issuing the internationally recognized certificates of compliances under the Nagoya Protocol on access and benefit sharing. India accounts for over 56% of the global IRCCs using 3561 certificates out of 6311 worldwide. Out of 142 countries registered on the ABS clearing house, only 34 countries have issued the IRCCs. तो सिर्फ 34 कंट्रीज़ के पास यहाँ पर इंटरनेशनली रिकॉग्नाइज सर्टिफिकेट ऑफ कॉम्प्लायंसेस हैं. ठीक है. The IRCC certifies that prior informed consent has been obtained and mutually agreed terms established for use of genetic resources and associated traditional knowledge. The ABS Clearinghouse is a global platform to ensure transparency and accountability in the implementation of Nagoya Protocol. So guys, we are done with this Nagoya Protocol. हम already cover कर चुके हैं. Let's try to answer this. So which country has become? India leads the globally in issuing the compliance certificates under which protocol? Nagoya Protocol. Which country has become the global leader? India has become. So India has become the global leader here. Simple, that is the right answer. Let's move on to the next part. India accounts for over dash percentage of the global IRCCs. What is that percentage that India is having? And now Nagoya Protocol is a global platform to ensure transparency and accountability. ABS is a global platform to ensure transparency and accountability in the implementation of the Nagoya Protocol. Now what is the proportion that India is having of the global IRCCs? Can anybody tell me that in the chat box? Let's see who will give me the right answer here. So what will be the right answer? That is around 55%. Absolutely right. That is answer is 56%. Well done. Harshal, Kashish, Material Share, Kavya, Shruti, Srishti. Everybody, you have given me the right answer to all these questions. Well done everyone. So now my dear friends, we are done with this article. Now let's move on to the next article, and this is the RBI notification that we are going to discuss now. So the article here is on the Foreign Exchange Management, Export and Import of Currency Amendment Regulations 2026. Right? So let's take an example. There are so many people who go to foreign countries like America or Canada, right? Or the Dubai or Singapore, and they purchase iPhone from there and they come back, right? So when they come back, they have to pay some customs duty on that, right? So basically what happens is that whenever you are going outside India, your luggage is being checked. And when you are coming back from that foreign country, if you are having anything additional to that luggage, you have to give the clearance to the customs department, right? That okay, this is what I have brought from there. You guys agree with me? You guys agree with me, right? This happens. So let me tell you here. Now let's take an example. That when you went from the India to USA, you were having 100 rupees with you, right? 100 rupees cash, right? And when you are coming back, you are having 1000. So definitely the custom duty is going to ask you that, okay, my dear, from where this money has come, right? You went there only with $100, now you are coming with $1000. So we have to provide them the information that how exactly it converted from 100 to 1000, right? So basically my dear friends, let me tell you, whenever you are coming back, there is a certain limit of money that you can have. If it is beyond a particular limit, then you have to fill a particular form. And if there is a foreign tourist who is coming to India, and he was having the $5,000, right? So now the government wants the department that, okay, please note it down that yes, this person, when he came, he was having $5,000, and then when he will be going back, and if he is having again $2,000 with him, so we have to see that, okay, how exactly these 2,000 are there with you. So basically we are trying to identify how that foreign exchange has been used in our country, how it was converted, and the money that the person is taking away again. So from where he has brought this money, and what is the source of that, everything they want to know, so that we can track the usage of the foreign exchange in our country, how it has been used, what is the amount we are having. So we are going to track each and everything. Just like that luggage we are tracking, similarly we are tracking the foreign exchange. Now this foreign exchange can be in the terms of the currency, it can be in the terms of the foreign instruments, it can be in terms of the bonds as well, right? So the Reserve Bank of India has issued the Foreign Exchange Management, Export and Import of the Currency Amendment Regulations 2026 under the Foreign Exchange Management Act 1999. The amendment inserts a currency declaration form to the existing 2015 regulations. So guys, the existing 2015 regulations, we have added the CDF facility to it. What is the CDF? It is a currency declaration form. So how much currency you were carrying then and how much currency you are carrying now. So passengers have to ensure that they are not required to fill the CDF if the total foreign exchange brought is within 10,000 US dollars. अगर 10,000 US dollars से कम है value, including the instruments, including the currency and everything, अगर 10,000 से कम है, then you are not required to fill the CDF. If it is more than this, then you have to fill the CDF. That is a currency declaration form. And if the current foreign currency notes that you are bringing, it is exceeding USD $5,000, then you have to fill the CDF. Otherwise, there is no requirement. Clear everyone? Otherwise, there is no requirement. So the CDF must be presented to the authorized banks or the money changers during the conversion or reconversion of foreign exchange. तो जब भी ये फॉरेन एक्सचेंज को आप कन्वर्ट कराओगे, रिकन्वर्ट कराओगे, तो बेसिकली हमारे पास ये प्रूफ होना चाहिए. अगर वो फॉरेन टूरिस्ट जो अब वापस आ रहे हैं अपनी कंट्री के अंदर, उसके पास वो CDF है, तो वो CDF दिखा सकते हैं कि सी दिस इज द प्रूफ, व्हेन आई केम हियर ना आई वाज हैविंग 5,000, नाउ I basically only spended $3,000. Now I am already having $2,000 with me, I am taking it back, simple. But अगर वो CDF नहीं होगा उसके पास, then it would be a problematic for him, because this CDF was having this value, that how much money he brought back, how much money he brought to India. Clear everyone? So the visitors must retain the form if the foreign exchange is not fully exchanged and cashed, to present it to the customs while leaving India. The details of the travelers, checks, currency, notes are not required, and the foreign tourists are not required to provide their address. So उनको अपनी बाकी डिटेल्स नहीं प्रोवाइड करने की रिक्वायरमेंट है. They just need to have this CDF. That's it. The CDF is the form introduced by the RBI under the Foreign Exchange Management, Export and Import of the Currency Amendment Regulations 2026. It is used by the passengers to declare the foreign exchange they carry while arriving in India. Why RBI introduced currency declaration form? क्यों इसको इंट्रोड्यूस किया गया दोस्तों? Why it was introduced? To ensure the traceability of the foreign exchange, to avoid misuse and money laundering, to facilitate smooth reconversion of the currency. That's why it has been done. Clear everyone? So now let's try to answer this question. The Reserve Bank of India has issued the Foreign Exchange Management Regulations 2026 under the Foreign Exchange Management Act 1999. The amendment inserts a CDF, that is the currency declaration form, to the existing 2015 regulations. The passengers are not required to fill the CDF if the total foreign exchange brought is within rupees $10,000 in terms of money, in terms of instruments, and the foreign currency notes do not exceed rupees $5,000. Clear, my dear future officers? Are you guys able to understand it? If yes, please give me a thumbs up in the chat box. See, with this we are done with all the 21 articles which are important from phase 1 and 2 point of view from the last week of the month of March 2026. Clear everyone? Clear to all of you? I'm waiting for your responses in the chat box. If you guys are able to get it, please quickly give me a thumbs up in the chat box that yes, we are done. Yes, we are done with it. Clear, everyone? Okay, so I can see that yes, all the people are done with this. So material share, Kashish, we have Sudhirnikan, it's Tamanna, Kashish Benwal, Harshal, ABC, everybody is done. That's really good, my dear friends. Now let's move on to the phase 1 articles. So here guys, now we will be covering the phase 1 articles in a very quick manner, right? Because that is the last part of this particular session. Let's try to cover them in a very quick manner. Clear, everyone? So the collaboration for the use of waste foundry sand in the road construction. So we are using the waste foundry sand in the road construction. For this, Indian Institute of Indian Foundrymen has signed a research and development agreement with CSIR, CRRI and Suyog Elements. So CSIR, CRRI, that is the Central Road Research Institute, is leading the efforts to use waste foundry sand in the road construction. तो जो फाउंड्री सैंड होता है उसको हम यूज़ करने वाले हैं अपनी रोड कंस्ट्रक्शंस के अंदर, राइट? So the Institute of Indian Foundrymen has signed this research and development agreement with the CSIR, CRRI and Suyog Elements. That's all. The DPIIT has signed an MOU to support startups in the digital entertainment sector. For this, they have signed an MOU with the Craft in India Limited. They will focus on supporting product startups in the digital entertainment. That's all. The name of the company with which MOU has been signed is Crafton India Private Limited. Now the pilot plant for the neodymium iron boron. So the neodymium iron boron rare earth permanent magnet has been established. The manufacturing facility of the pilot plant of the neodymium iron boron rare earth permanent magnet has been established at the International Advanced Research Center for Powder Metallurgy and New Materials in Hyderabad. तो हैदराबाद के अंदर इसको सेटअप किया गया है. Please remember this name, neodymium iron boron. Now moving at the 9th Pharma Medical 2026 was organized by Department of Pharmaceuticals under the Ministry of Chemical and Fertilizers along with the PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry, which is going to host the 9th Pharma Med in New Delhi. The theme is Healthcare Equity Reaching Every Citizen of the Viksit Bharat. Healthcare activity reaching every citizen of the Viksit Bharat is the right answer. Now moving ahead, India has won the gold in the men's and the women's events at Asian Lacrosse Games. So guys, in the Asian Lacrosse Games, Indian team dominated as they won the gold medal in both men and women sections, and this event was held in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. So Indian men's team defeated the Iraq and women team defeated the Pakistan in the finals to win this event. Clear? Moving ahead guys, inaugural Khelo India Tribal Games 2026 held in Chhattisgarh. We have already covered this article. So Chhattisgarh has basically hosted the Khelo India Tribal Games and the mascot of the game was Morveer. The mascot of the game Khelo India Tribal Games was Morveer, right? Khelo India scheme is the flagship central sector scheme of the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports to encourage mass participation and promoting the excellence in sports. Clear everyone? I hope this is clear to everyone. Let's try to answer these questions now. So the collaboration for the use of waste foundrymen in the road construction. So we have seen that the Indian Foundrymen organization has signed a research and development agreement with the CSIR CRRI for the usage of the foundry sand in the road construction, right? DPIT has signed an MOU with the Crafton India Private Limited for startups in the digital entertainment sector. Pilot plant for the neodymium iron boron rare earth permanent magnet pilot plant was been established at the International Advanced Research Center in Hyderabad. That's all that we need to cover. Moving ahead, which country won the gold medal in the men's and the women's events at the Asian Lacrosse Games? That is India. India has won the gold medal in the both men's and women's events at the Asian Lacrosse Games. It was held in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. The tournaments were played in the sixes format, with the Indian men defeating the Iraq and the women defeating Pakistan in the finals. Clear everyone? Are you guys able to answer all the questions in the chat box? So we are done with all these questions, right? Let's move on to the next news article now. The Department of Person with Disability under the Ministry of Social Justice has signed a MOU with the Association of the People with Disability to enhance accessibility assessment in India. तो इंडिया के अंदर accessibility assessment करने के लिए एसोसिएशन ऑफ पीपल विद डिसेबिलिटी ने एक MOU साइन किया है with the Department of Empowerment of Person with Disability. The partnership aims to improve the accessibility through the citizen engagement and the use of real-time digital tools. So we want to make the public facilities accessible for these persons with disabilities, right? The initiative uses the APD's Yes to Access app, a platform for the crowdsourced accessibility assessments by volunteers and the community members. Moving ahead, Prism SG portal has been launched for digitizing approval processes. Prism SG, that is a portal for railroad inspection and the stages management. So basically what we are doing is we are going to inspect the rail and road and the stages management. The steel girders portal has been launched to improve efficiency, transparency and coordination of the infrastructure projects. So we always want to ensure that we are making these projects in a very efficient manner, and that is why we are having these infrastructure projects. So for this we are having the Prism SG, that is the portal for railroad inspection and stages management. The portal digitizes approval and inspection processes related to the construction of the road over bridges, including quality assurance plan, welding procedure specification sheet and fabrication stage inspection of steel girders. Clear everyone? Prism SG portal has been launched for digitizing the approval processes. तो जो भी approval चाहिए हमें रेल और road projects के लिए, it will be getting at Prism SG portal. Now Indian Railways has approved 1236 crore projects to upgrade the communication infrastructure and expand the Kavach automatic train protection system. So we will be expanding Kavach automatic train protection system. We are having the 1236 crore to upgrade the communication infrastructure, right? The project aims to enhance the safety, improve operational efficiency, support advanced train control systems. For this we will be having a dual fiber communication network. We will be having a Kavach 4.0 system. We will be having an optical ground wire, which is a special type of cable used in the railway and the power infrastructure. तो इन सब चीज़ों से हम इसको कवर करेंगे दोस्तों. Clear everyone? I hope that this is clear to everyone. So my dear friends, this is the important point that we need to cover, right? Indian Railways approved 1236 crore projects. Indian Railways has approved the projects worth approximately 1236 crore to upgrade the communication infrastructure and expand the Kavach automatic train protection system, right? So how much amount we have given? 1236 crore rupees, and which system will be expanded into the Indian Railways? That is a Kavach, that is an anti-collision system. We have earlier seen that at times what happens is that the two trains collide with each other. So we have to avoid such kind of scenarios, and that is why we have to ensure that we are doing this. So for that we are having the Kavach 4.0, which will be deployed on the 548 km of the high traffic routes. Then we are having the Ministry of Defence, which has signed a contract worth rupees 858 crore rupees. So the Ministry of Defence has signed contract worth 858 crore for the procurement of Tunguska Air Defence Missile System and the depot level inspection of P8I aircraft. तो P8I aircraft के लिए और depot level inspection के लिए Tunguska Air Defence Missile System का procurement होगा by the Ministry of Defence. For that we have signed contract worth 858 crore rupees, right? A separate MOU has been signed. The missile system will enhance India's multi-layer air defence capabilities, and a separate 413 crore contract was signed with the Boeing India Defence Private Limited for depot level inspection. तो डिपोट लेवल इंस्पेक्शन करेंगे हम P8I एयरक्राफ्ट का और P8I लॉन्ग रेंज मैरीटाइम रिकॉनेसेंस एयरक्राफ्ट ऑफ द इंडियन नेवी. क्लियर एवरीवन? व्हाट इज द अमाउंट which is involved? 858 crores. Now the Defence Acquisition Council has granted the acceptance of necessity for proposals worth 2.38 लाख करोड़। तो इससे क्या किया जाएगा दोस्तों, एयर डिफेंस ट्रैक्ड सिस्टम विल प्रोवाइड रियल टाइम डिफेंस कंट्रोल। तो यहाँ पर कुछ चीज़ें प्रोक्योर की जाएंगी। फॉर एग्जांपल एयर डिफेंस ट्रैक्ड सिस्टम, आर्मर्ड पियर्सिंग टैंक एम्यूनिशन, हाई कैपेसिटी रेडियो डिले, धनुष गन सिस्टम, रनवे इंडिपेंडेंट एरियल सर्वेलेंस सिस्टम। और इसके लिए व्हाट अमाउंट गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया इज गोइंग टू इन्वेस्ट 2.38 लाख करोड़। Clear everyone? Now the National Council for the Cement and Building Materials has signed an MOU with the Ultratech Cement Limited to strengthen the skill development and capacity building. तो skill development और capacity building के लिए NCB National Council for Cement and Building Materials ने Ultratech Cement के साथ MOU साइन किया, under which they will be training a large number of professionals and workers over the next 3 to 5 years. Clear? Let's try to answer these questions now. So which department under the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment has signed a fresh MOU with the Association of the People with Disability? That is the Department of Persons with Disabilities. Right? The initiative uses the APD's Yes Access app, a platform for the crowdsourced accessibility assessments by volunteers and the community members. Now what is the name of the portal which has been launched for digitizing approval processes? The portal is Prism SG portal. Prism SG portal. That is the right answer. Indian Railways has approved how many projects, guys? The worth projects, that is 1236 crore worth projects. And what is the system which will be deployed on 548 km of high traffic area routes? That is 548 kilometers. Now the Ministry of Defence has signed a contract worth rupees 858 crore for the procurement of P8I. So this is the missile system. A separate rupees 413 crore contract was signed with the Dash Defence Private Limited. That is the Boeing India Defence Private Limited, with which this thing has been signed. Clear everyone? So my dear friends, I hope that this is clear with all of you. I hope that you guys are able to understand it. Okay. So that was a Tunguska air defense missile system, my dear friend, that we forgot. Tunguska air defense missile system. Now moving on to the next part, the DPIIT has signed an MOU to support startups and innovation ecosystem. The Department of Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry signed an MOU with the Reports Energy India Private Limited to promote innovation and support startups. So the Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry has signed this MOU with the Reports Energy India Private Limited to promote innovation and support startups. So they will be focusing on the fuel tech, manufacturing, deep tech and allied sectors. It will provide structured support through the innovation challenges, hackathons, investor connect programs. Moving on to the next news article. The Balendra Shah has become the Nepal's Prime Minister. So who is the new Nepal Prime Minister? That is the Balendra Shah, who took oath as the Nepal Prime Minister and became the youngest Prime Minister. And he is the first leader from the Madheshi community. तो मदेशी कम्युनिटी के ये पहले लीडर हैं who has become the Prime Minister. Moving on to the next news article. Japan provides the ODA loan of JPY 275.858 billions to India for key sector projects. So Japan has committed official development assistance loan of the 275.858 billion Japanese yen for 4 projects in the urban transport, health and agriculture. And in which states we will be going for this? We will be going for this with the Maharashtra, Karnataka and Punjab. These are the 3 states where we will be having these 4 projects in the urban transport, health and agriculture. Clear everyone? So Japan has committed the official development assistance loan for the JPY 275.858 billion. Maharashtra, Karnataka and Punjab. Please remember this. Moving ahead, the Oriental Insurance Company Limited has crossed 20,000 crore gross premium. My dear friends, 20,000 crore का gross premium यहाँ पर cross किया है Oriental Insurance Company Limited ने in the fiscal year 25-26 with the objective of insurance for all and promotes financial inclusion and wider access to insurance. Clear? The growth was driven by the group personal accident, health, fire and motor insurance segments. That's all from this news article. Clear everyone? 20,000 crore of the gross premium. So let's try to answer these questions now. DSE has cleared proposals worth 858 crore rupees, my dear friends. 858 crore rupees. Right? For the procurement of the air defense tracked system, armored piercing tank ammunition and high capacity radio delay and the Dhanush gun system. So my dear friends, it was not, I think it was not 858 crore, it was a 2.3 lakh crores. Let's try to look back into it again. Yeah, it was 2.38 lakh crore rupees. It was 2.38 lakh crore rupees. See guys, that shows that we need to revise these things again and again, right? We just covered it, but again we forgot it. So we have to ensure that we are having this information in our mind. Now the NCB has signed an MOU for the skill development in the construction sector, with which organization? Ultratech Cement. That is the right answer. Now DPIT has signed an MOU to support startups and innovation ecosystem. It has signed an MOU with the Dash India Private Limited to promote innovation and startup ecosystems. What is the right answer? Please try to give me the right answer in the chat box. It was the Reports India Energy Limited, right? Reports India Energy Limited. To promote innovation and support startups. Now who has become the Nepal's Prime Minister? What is the name of this person? It's Baldev Shah, who is from the Madhesh community, to hold Nepal's top executive post. Right? Now Japan has provided 275.85 billion Japanese yen to India for the key sector projects. Then we are having these projects across the which states? Maharashtra, Karnataka and Punjab. That is the right answer. Oriental Insurance Company Limited has crossed the 20,000 crore rupees gross premium. And we are having the objective of insurance for all by which year? 2047. Absolutely right. I can see in the chat box. So Balendra Shah given a material share. Kashish. Repos by material share. Kashish Ultratech. Harshal Dhanush. So yes, everybody is giving me the right answer. Well done, my dear friends. Let's move on to the next news article now. The Saraswati Samman 2025 awarded to Bengali novel Hara Parvati Katha. Har Parvati Katha is the name of the novel which has been selected for the Saraswati Samman 2025, which was instituted in 1991 with the KK Birla Foundation. Clear everyone? So what is the name of that novel? Please give me the answer in the chat box. The name of the novel is Hara Parvati Katha. Absolutely right. Now the World Meteorological Day we observe every year on March 23. It commemorates the coming into force of the convention establishing the World Meteorological Organization on 23rd March 1950. Theme for this year is Observing Today, Protecting Tomorrow. Observing Today, Protecting Tomorrow is the theme for this year. Clear everyone? Now the next news article is basically IMEX, that is IONS Maritime Exercise, which was held in Kochi, Kerala. IMEX, IONS Maritime Exercise, held in Kochi, Kerala. And you know what? India is going to assume the IONS chairmanship for the 26 to 28 cycle after a gap of 16 years. A very, very important part to remember. Moving ahead, India Skills National Competition 25-26 commenced in the Greater Noida. तो कहाँ पर हुआ है? Greater Noida में हुआ है. Which ministry has organized this event? It was the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship with the support of National Skill Development Corporation. So Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship along with the National Skill Development Corporation, they have signed and they have organized this particular event, that is the India Skills National Competition 25-26, which has started in the Greater Noida. And the winners of this national competition will represent India at the World Skills Competition Shanghai 26, known as the Olympics for Skills. Clear everyone? Olympic of Skills is the right answer. Now moving ahead to the next news article, phase 1 of the Noida International Airport has been inaugurated. It has been created with an investment of 11,200 crore rupees. तो 11,200 करोड़ रुपीस के साथ इन्वेस्टमेंट के साथ बना है फेज 1 ऑफ नोएडा इंटरनेशनल एयरपोर्ट. Clear everyone? The airport project represents a significant development in India's aviation infrastructure and regional growth. Uttar Pradesh has emerged as one of the states with the highest number of international airports in India. So which state is having the maximum number of airports in our country? That is Uttar Pradesh. That is the right answer. Well done. Let's try to answer the questions in the chat box now. So the Saraswati Samman was awarded to Bengali novel Hara Parvati Katha. That is the right answer. World Meteorological Day celebrated on 23 March. The theme is observing the future, right? The IMEX TTX held at Southern Naval Command Kochi, Kerala. That is the IMX, IONS Maritime Exercise. And India will assume the IONS chairmanship for the 26 to 28. Indian National Skill Competition has commenced in Greater Noida. It is organized under the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. So it is also known as the Olympic of Skills. Absolutely right. Let's move on to the next news article now. So before moving ahead, are you guys able to answer all these questions in the chat box? Please give me a thumbs up if yes, you are able to answer all these questions. Please give me a thumbs up in the chat box if you guys are able to answer all these questions. I can see in the chat box Harshal, Kashish, Material Share, Srishti, Ikigai, ABC. All the people are giving the right answer in the chat box. Well done. Now moving on to the next article, C.Dot has signed an MOU with the Delhi Police for smart policing. So Center for Development of Telematics has signed an MOU with the Delhi Police. This is under the Department of Telecommunications. The collaboration will develop technology-driven, indigenous and secure policing solutions. So secure policing solutions के लिए we are having this MOU between the Center for Development of Telematics and the Delhi Police. It focuses on improving the operational efficiency, secure communications, surveillance, cyber security and emergency response capabilities. Okay. Now the awareness campaign organized to mark 20 years of the Earth Hour. So my dear friends, Earth Hour was being celebrated. Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change and the Worldwide Fund for Nature India organized the awareness and outreach activity in the Gwalior to mark 20 years of Earth Hour. तो अर्थ आर के 20 ईयर्स को मार्क किया गया है. अर्थ आर स्टार्टेड इन 2007 फ्रॉम ऑस्ट्रेलिया. इज द ग्लोबल ग्रास रूट एनवायरमेंटल मूवमेंट. सो गाइस, ऑन दिस डे व्हाट वी डू, वी जस्ट स्विच ऑफ ऑल द लाइट्स and we are protecting the earth by saving the energy. We are giving an hour for the mother earth. So earth hour involves switching off non-essential lights for 1 hour. This year it was observed on March 28 from 8:30 to 9:30 pm. So 28 March को celebrate किया गया for this year. Moving ahead, nominations open for the Rashtriya Vigyan Puraskar. My dear friends, in our country to recognize excellence in the science, technology and innovation, we are having the Rashtriya Vigyan Puraskar and they are giving across the 4 different categories. What are the categories? Vigyan Ratna, Vigyan Shri, Vigyan Yuva Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar and Vigyan Team. Vigyan Ratna is a lifetime achievement award. Vigyan Shri for the distinguished contribution. Vigyan Yuva Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar for young scientists up to 45 years who have shown exceptional promise, and Vigyan Team for the teams of 3 or more researchers for collaborative excellence. That's all from the examination point of view. Let's move ahead to the next part. Before that, let's try to answer these questions. C.Dot has signed an MOU with which organization for smart policing? It is the Delhi Police, right? Awareness campaign organized to mark 20 years of Earth Hour. The Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change and WWF India organized the awareness and outreach activities in dash to mark 20 years of the Earth Hour. It was started from 2007 in 2007 from Australia. The campaign in India calls on the people to give an R for Earth through activities like clean up drives, tree plantation, biodiversity walks, etc. It was started with outreach activities in Gwalior. Absolutely right. Now, nominations has been opened for the Rashtriya Vigyan Puraskar for Excellence in Science, Technology, and Innovation. For the Lifetime Achievement Award, we are having the Vigyan Ratna. For the distinguished contributions, we are having the Vigyan Shri. We are having Vigyan Swarup Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar, Vigyan Yuva Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar for young scientists. Then we are having Vigyan Team for 3 or more researchers for collaborative excellence. That's all from this, my dear friends. Let's move on to the next news article. The first meeting of the BRIC Research Advisory Board. BRIC stands for Biotechnology Research and Innovation Council. Research Advisory Board was held at the Regional Center for Biotechnology, Faridabad. It is an apex autonomous body formed by subsuming 14 autonomous institutes of the Department of Biotechnology. Clear, everyone? Now the Indian Navy has launched Operation Urja Suraksha. So Urja Suraksha operation has been launched by Indian Navy amid the rising tensions in the West Asia and blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. Objective was very clear that we want to ensure uninterrupted and secure movement of the Indian flagged vessels carrying LPG, LNG and crude oil. You all know that there was a shortage in the LPG, right? And that is why, to ensure that there is no such kind of shortage in our country, इंडियन नेवी लॉन्च्ड ऑपरेशन ऊर्जा सुरक्षा. इंडिया की ऊर्जा को सुरक्षित रखने के लिए वी आर हैविंग द ऊर्जा सुरक्षा इनिशिएटिव. मूविंग हेड, इंडियन एयरफोर्स हैज इनिशिएटेड द वायुबान हेलीकॉप्टर ड्रॉप ड्रोन प्रोजेक्ट. सो वायुबान इज एन इंडिजिनस एयर लॉन्च effect program integrating drones with the helicopters. Here we are integrating the lone drone with the helicopter, guys. The project is led by IAF Directorate of Aerospace Design, Gandhinagar. It is a small autonomous drone dropped mid-flight from the helicopter. It unfolds, activates propulsion and functions as a surveillance asset. तो हम इसको टारगेट कर सकते हैं किसी पर, सर्वेलेंस के लिए यूज़ कर सकते हैं इस ड्रोन को. सो ये ड्रोन हम कहाँ से लॉन्च करते हैं? फ्रॉम द हेलीकॉप्टर डायरेक्टली. सो दैट इज कॉल्ड वायुबान. वायु से ही बाण छोड़ना दोस्तों. सो व्हेन हेलीकॉप्टर इज इन द मिड एयर, during that time only we are launching this drone from the helicopter, right? That is called Vayuban. Indian Army has partnered with the IITM Pravartak to advance defense indigenization. So defense indigenization के लिए we have partnered with the IITM Pravartak. Indian Army through its corps of electronics and mechanical engineers has signed a partnership with IITM Pravartak Technologies Foundation. Objective is to strengthen indigenous engineering capabilities and reduce the dependency on external sources. So we want to ensure that we are remaining dependent on indigenous engineering capabilities. We are having our own engineering capabilities and we are reducing the dependency on the external sources. That's why to bridge this gap between the research and the real world deployment, we are having the IITM Pravartak, which is a technology innovation hub under the National Mission on Interdisciplinary Cyber Physical Systems, which is a Section 8 company hosted by IIT Madras. The NIC, that is the Nodal Indigenization Center, has been established at Awadhi, Tamil Nadu. So Awadhi, Tamil Nadu के अंदर एक नोडल इंडिजनाइजेशन सेंटर को इस्टेब्लिश किया गया है टू सपोर्ट इनोवेशन एंड डिप्लॉयमेंट and to promote collaboration among the academia, industry and armed forces. So Indian Army has partnered with IITM Pravartak to advance in defense indigenization. Now my dear friends, Sikkim Stuti Pradhan has been selected to represent India at the World Youth Parliament. तो स्तुति प्रधान from the Sikkim, इन्हें select किया गया to represent India at the World Youth Parliament. She is a state level winner of the Viksit Bharat Youth Parliament 2025. And the Olympic champion Carolina Marin has announced retirement from badminton. She was a swashbuckling player from the Spain. And you know guys that so many times she was the finalist along with the Indian player like PV Sindhu or right. And we used to have a very fighting match in the finals. So this Carolina Marin, who is a very renowned player from Spain, she has announced her retirement from the badminton. She won the Olympic singles gold achieved at Rio de Janeiro 2016. Let's try to answer these questions. Indian Navy has launched which operation amid rising tensions in the West Asia and blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. My dear friends, before that, please give me a thumbs up in the chat box. Are you guys ready to answer all these questions? Are you guys ready to answer all these questions? Okay, so yes, let's try to answer the question in a very quick manner. Let's show some energy in the chat box. Let's try to answer these questions. So Indian Navy launched Operation Urja Suraksha amid the rising tensions in the West Asia. Indian Air Force initiated Vayu Ban helicopter drop drone project. Indian Army partnered with IITM Pravartak to advance defense indigenization. Now Sikkim has selected Stuti Pradhan to represent India at the World Youth Parliament. Olympic champion Carolina Marin from Spain has announced retirement from badminton. That's all. So we are done with all the articles that we have done. Now let's move on to the next set of articles. So CCRAS has signed an MOU with the Anuvadini AI to translate Ayurveda research. So my dear friends, you know we are having a very rich traditional knowledge on the Ayurveda, and we just want to ensure that we are translating into the language which the normal people can also understand, so that we can disseminate this information to the more and more people. That is why we are having Anuvadini AI to translate the Ayurveda research. So for that, Central Council for Research in Ayurvedic Sciences, Ministry of Ayush has signed a MOU with Anuvadini AI. It is a platform developed by the All India Council for Technical Education under the Ministry of Education. It aims to make evidence-based Ayurveda knowledge accessible across the linguistic barriers in India. Now CSIR has transferred biobitumen technology for sustainable road construction. Guys, earlier we saw which technology? Foundry sand. We were using foundry sand in the road construction, right? Now we are using the biobitumen. So the CSIR, Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, has organized a technology transfer event, New Delhi, for biobitumen from lignocellulosic biomass from farm residue to roads. The technology was developed by the CSIR Central Road Research Project Institute and the CSIR Indian Institute of Petroleum. It uses the agricultural biomass and crop residues as a feedstock through a thermochemical conversion process to produce biobitumen. Clear everyone? The produced biobitumen is a renewable and environmentally friendly alternative with the performance equivalent to conventional petroleum based bitumen. That's all from this news article. Moving ahead, the DGC has signed MOU with the Gati Shakti Vidyalaya. So Directorate General of Civil Aviation signed MOU with the Gati Shakti Vishwavidyalaya to enhance knowledge and skills in the aviation engineering and aviation management. So for enhancing knowledge in the skills in aviation market, we are signing an MOU with the Gati Shakti Vishwavidyalaya, which will be promoting the quality manpower for the aviation and maintenance, repair and overhaul sector through an undergraduate degree in aviation maintenance engineering. So my dear friends, DGC has signed an MOU with the Gati Shakti Vishwavidyalaya. Clear? Indian Navy has received Agre. Agre is the fourth anti-shallow watercraft built by the Garden Reach Shipbuilders and Engineers Limited of Kolkata. So Garden Reach Shipbuilders and Engineers Kolkata has designed and built the Agre, which is the anti-submarine warfare shallow watercraft. Right? It was delivered to Indian Navy in Kolkata. Now the Bhavsagar Referral Center, designated as a national repository for deep sea fauna. For the deep sea fauna, we have created a repository and it is called Bhavsagar, where we are having the different types of the species of the sagar, right, which are found in sagar. So these are the referral centers as India's national repository of the deep sea fauna, right? The center is located at the Center for Marine Living Resources and Ecology, Kochi, Kerala, under the Ministry of Earth Sciences. The recognition has been granted under the Biological Diversity Act 2002. It will be functioning as the national facility for preservation, study and documentation of deep sea biodiversity. Clear everyone? Let's try to answer these questions. CCRAS has signed an MOU with the Dash AI to translate Ayurveda research, that is Anuvadini AI. CSIR transfers biobitumen technology for sustainable road construction. DGC has signed an MOU with a dash to enhance the knowledge and skill aviation, engineering and aviation management. What is the right answer? What is the right answer to this? It is the Gati Shakti Vishwavidyalaya. Indian Navy receives AGRE, which is the 4th ASW shallow watercraft built by GRSC Kolkata. Garden Reach Shipbuilders Engineers Limit, Kolkata. Now dash is the referral center designated national repository for the deep sea fauna. What is the right answer? For this referral center, it is Bhav Sagar Referral Center. This is the Bhav Sagar Referral Center. Clear everyone? And the CSIR NISCPR MOU has signed an MOU with the Science City of Andhra Pradesh. तो आंध्र प्रदेश साइंस सिटी के साथ ये MOU साइन हुआ है बिटवीन द CSIR नेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट फॉर साइंस कम्युनिकेशन. Right, my dear friends? So now, my dear friends, let me tell you here. So these are just the 10 articles which are left, right? These are quite varies in the nature, and you have to cover these articles in the similar way. And I'm giving you these 10 articles as the homework. Will you guys be able to cover them from the examination point of view? Just the 10 articles are there. Please give me a thumbs up in the chat box. So these 10 articles are your homework. Please try to cover them and give me the answers of the Drishyam round in the comment section of this particular session, so that I can ensure that yes, you have completed your homework. Clear everyone? Quite very easy articles. The phase 1 articles only very direct in nature. You can see that in the very short span of time we are done with these different articles for the phase 1, right? So now there must be some new people who have joined us live today in this session. They will be having the doubt in their mind that, sir, from where exactly we can access the Drishyam round PDFs. Let me tell you guys, you can just go to the chapters, right? On the top right corner you will see that there is a courses. Then you have to go to the all categories, go to the package. You will see the current affairs package. In the current affairs package, my dear friends, let me tell you here, you have a chapter of the month of March. Here you will see, we have already provided you the Drishyam round PDF. The Drishyam round PDF has already been uploaded there, right? You are just required to go through these last 10 articles, give me the answers in the comment section. And the cutoff time for that is 9 PM. By 9 PM, I want answers from everybody of you. Clear everyone? I hope this is clear to all of you. And now guys, let me tell you another important part. In the current affairs, if you are the part of the current affairs package, or if you are the part of the current affairs test series course, like we are having a current affairs test series course for the people who are basically having the material of other organizations and they want to solve the MCQs here, right? So we are having the test series course. Let me tell you that we have decided now that we will be providing you a set of 10 tests. These 10 tests will be the sectional tests of 25 minutes each, having the 80 questions on the pattern of the examination, right? So if you are interested in appearing these tests, and if you are really interested in appearing this exam level test, where you will be solving 25 minutes these 80 questions as per the level of the examination, so definitely you can enroll into this particular course. Clear? So Kashish, I am saying that the people who are already the part of the package, or they are part of the current affairs test series course, right? For the people who are the part of these areas, we are having this particular test for you. Okay, you are asking about the homework. So these are the 10 articles. We have already provided you the Drishyam round PDFs in the portal. Just go there and try to see the Drishyam round questions on these 10 articles. Like you can see here, these are the questions on the Drishyam round, right, of these 10 articles. Try to answer these articles in the comment section of this particular session. The timeline for that is basically 9 p.m. Clear? So it's not for the 5 months, it is for this particular. The homework is of this session only, 26th to 31st of March. Clear? So I hope, my dear friends, that this is all from the today's session. And I believe that you must have enjoyed the session. All these articles which were quite technical in nature, we have tried to cover them in a very holistical manner with the help of the examples, covering all the articles in a very comprehensive manner, right? Now I will be meeting you tomorrow at 8 a.m. with the next session. Till then, stay happy, stay healthy. Wish you all happy learning.